Hello, everyone, and welcome to P1 Broadcasting's coverage of the American Motorsports Association Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. I am Mark Murphy, your host, and tonight, Sam Crow has the night off. He had a prior engagement, so Sam is not with us, but we've brought in an absolute treat for our fans out there. Tonight, we're joined by real-life kart racer, in-sim IndyCar ace, Jacob Collins. And Jacob, this is your first stock car show here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. You've been watching some of the Daytona race. Kind of tell us what you might expect from tonight's race here at Atlanta.
Well, I'm expecting hopefully a long green flag run at some point. And, you might get a little argy-bargy towards the end. That's how super speedways go, ain't it?
You know it is, and I was talking with some of the drivers earlier today. I ran some laps myself here. These tires are going to go off, and they're going to go off pretty badly. We saw that last night. There was a large amount of tire wear here at Atlanta, and we saw some guys slipping and sliding around, especially after about 20 laps on the tires. I would expect to see a lot more of the same tonight, Jacob. And when we see that, you're going to see some fireworks in that pack, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. There's much to be said for how much they've changed Atlanta, but Atlanta remains the same. It's going to cheer your tires up and spit you right out.
You know it is. Sam and I did cover that at length. Of course, this track originally built as a true oval. Think of it like Homestead, but higher banked and wider. It was reconfigured in 1997 after having changed hands and ownership a couple of times, and it became the modern quad oval that it is today. The track was completely redone in 2021, and it was originally tested. This configuration was originally tested in iRacing before they tore up the pavement and redid it. It's now 3 or 4 years old. It's got some character to it. Atlanta, people often forget, is in the foothills, and so the soil is very sandy, very similar in composition to a Darlington or Rockingham, and it will chew your tires up, Jacob.
Absolutely.
Just to kind of go through the truck series, information here. This track has hosted all different forms of motorsport, from NASCAR Cup. Of course, it was the series finale. Jacob, I don't know if you remember that or not, but it was the series finale for many years for the NASCAR Cup Series. The truck record was set by Kyle Busch on the fresh pavement in 2021, 30.861. Now, the track as scanned has age on it, and so we're not going to see anything approaching that. They have raced Indy cars here. Billy Boat has the all-time track record, 24.732. That's hauling it. That was in the 1998 Atlanta 500 Classic. You do have an infield road course, and you can kind of see it. We'll go ahead and cut to the kind of the blimp view of the track, but you can see the remnants of the IMSA course out there, Jacob. It's there. I don't know if it's in use anymore, but it is most certainly there, and you can see it. Juan Manuel Fangio has the track record on the road course. Juan Manuel Fangio II, and Dan Gurney's gorgeous Eagle Mark III. That was 1993, minute 13.514. They did run IMSA GTPs here for 5 years, and so how about that?
This is something I had come and tested out a couple times. Is just finding every oval on the service and then finding out if it's got a road course layout and just trying it out. Because I think it's really interesting that a lot of these places have road courses on offer, and you really only see them in track days or club level events. But a lot of them are actually pretty good racetracks in their own right.
They are. That was kind of a thing that IMSA did in the late 80s, early 90s. There used to be a huge, people forget, there used to be a huge prototype race on what has become the Roval at Charlotte for many years, and that was nationally televised. It was a pretty big deal. You can go look up the footage of that if you like. But Atlanta does have a similar road course. Is it in this version of the track, or do you have to go to old Atlanta to use it, Jacob?
I believe you have to go to the old scan. I think it's like many of the updated scans, they removed road course layouts. I know Pocono's the same way. Another tidbit on the IMSA deal is I believe Mark Martin's only IMSA start was at Iowa, The same one we know and love as IndyCar fans.
Yeah, I did not know that. I knew that the track had a road course. Another one that you wouldn't think of as having a road course is Gateway. And that road course is actually accessible from the oval. It's one of the few tracks that when you run the oval, you have access to the interior of the speedway. Gateway is one of those, and so occasionally you'll see during an IndyCar race or a stock car race on the oval at Atlanta or at Gateway, you'll see somebody get frustrated and drive down the road course to exit stage left, Jacob.
Exit stage left, park it, find their motor home and camp out until they're allowed to leave.
I think one time I won a race there that Gary was calling. I went and parked my car among the motorhomes. And he asked me what I was doing. I said, "Well, I'm won a race. I think I'm going to get out and have a sandwich." Anyway, the the AMA series has visited here to Atlanta in every season. This is the second race of the 2025 calendar, number 48 overall. They've come here for the second weekend in every series. They've come here twice every year too, so there has been traditionally a fall date. We are going to go 135 laps here, Jacob. That's 207.9 miles for those keeping score at home. The drivers will be limited to 4 sets of tires in the pits, plus whatever is on the truck to begin. There are stage breaks, and so we're going to take a yellow at lap 30 and a yellow at lap 60. Last year's winner here was Dakota Camper. Prior pole winners are Brad Youngman and Kevin Frey. And Max Lebeck and Dakota Camper have both won races here. I do not believe either one of them are in the field today, so we're going to see a first-time AMA winner most likely here at Atlanta. The other thing that I kind of wanted to bring to everybody's attention, we have more trucks here than we do pit stalls. And so it's going to be up to series director Kendall Paul as to how many trucks start and how many go home. Right now, there are 45 machines signed in for this one, and I do not have any notes about guaranteed spots, Jacob, so I think everybody's going to have to time their way in.
Putting down a lap at a super speedway is about the most stressful thing you can do.
Yeah, because it's...
Especially, so much can go wrong so quickly, too, and you don't realize it until the lap's up.
That's 100% right. It's, to me, it's the most, because it's one of the most stressful things you can do, not just from the perspective of having to lay down that fast lap, but there are very specific things that you have to do in order to make speed in one of these things. And there's also a lot of it there's some of it that's out of your control. There are going to be guys that get a fortuitous cloud and they go a little bit faster. We'll kind of pop up the weather here. It is Chamber of Commerce, by the way. 78 degrees in the air, 95 on the track, wind out of the southeast at 5, partly cloudy. Couldn't ask for better conditions. But the other thing is you have to be so precise. And we're going to ride on board with some of these drivers as they take those qualifying laps, just to kind of show our fans at home exactly what it is that these guys are going through trying to make the field.
Yeah, every little bit of wheel input is scrubbing speed, and the less speed you scrub, the faster you go. So you're trying to move that wheel as little as possible.
I think I've heard that discussion many a time pouring over telemetry for the open wheel rockets that Jacob and I race on a normal basis. We've got about 35 seconds, so we've got about 40 seconds until qualifying starts. The one thing I was always afraid of here, Jacob, and this goes for Daytona and Talladega qualifying too, is getting too close to the line and touching the apron on the bottom and backing into the fence and missing the show. Apron is definitely bad here, is it not?
Yeah, and I can about test that as good as anybody. I think there's a broadcast race from a couple seasons ago on the IndyCar side of things where I dodge a crash coming through turn 1 on the first lap, hit the apron, and just lose it all by myself. Like I clear the wreck and I wreck myself. So it's definitely, I think this is probably the most treacherous one there is, and I think it has a lot to do with just how banked the track is. They narrowed this place up, banked it even more. Heck, I've been told they had to figure out a new way to pave racetracks because of how banked this place is.
Yeah, most certainly did. The session for practice has ended. Qualifications are open. We're going to show the fastest lap. And as soon as somebody pops out on that racetrack, we're going to show you exactly what it looks like here. We're going to get on, let's get on the,
Looks like Nolan's cruising out onto the track now.
yeah, I'm actually on board with Michael Kirk. We're going to get the inputs up for Michael Kirk here. We'll kind of show what he's looking at. It's kind of difficult to get a decent view. There's the cockpit. So this is what Michael Kirk is looking at. If he's got his field of view set up, Jacob, this is what Michael Kirk is looking at now. He's taking it high on his come to speed lap, and it doesn't appear at 160 miles an hour that he's really gonna go after it here on the first lap. I would assume this is a second lap cue here.
I believe so. I think with the trucks, they're still on we need as much speed as possible on that get up to speed lap. So you're using the whole first green flag lap for getting up to speed as well. So I'm imagining this will probably be ride the high side and then start cutting it down on the second one and hope you can keep it stuck for all you got.
There you go. Michael Kirk. He is coming high off of turn number 4. He's going to come right down to that red line. Now, you are not allowed to go below that during the race. During qualifying, it is a free-for-all. You can kind of do what you want. But during the race, it is out of bounds. And you can kind of see he's not quite getting all the way down there. We were on the onboard. We're going to show it from a close-up view. And he's got a good couple of feet between himself and that red line. The closer you get down there, the quicker you're going to go. See him
Looks
cut
like
it.
he'll also cut down there.
He most certainly does. Michael Kirk, you're riding along with him. He is going to go to 6th quick, but that is what a qualification lap here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway will look like for these drivers. We're going to go to John Hutchins in the 72. We'll take a look at John. It's one of my endurance teammates, Jacob. He is the absolute funniest man you will ever run a car race with.
You know, it's always helpful to have a bit of a comedic persona in when you've got a big race like that, especially those 24 hours ones when you've got, people running double, triple stints, just giving it their all. Somebody's got to keep it lighthearted at some point, right?
Somebody does. Usually that role would fall to me. We'll take a look at Darius Timms. Darius going to come across the line. That is going to be good for 29th quick. And it looks like he is still on the loud pedal. Now he's going to back it down. So Darius Timms is done with his effort. We don't really have all that many people left. Gregorio Dorso, he finished 3rd last week. Great talking to Gregorio Dorso. An awesome run he had at Daytona in that 36. He's bringing it up. I would expect this to be a pretty quick lap.
It's always the people that seem to come out last that seem to put down the screamers, don't they?
It does. It do be that way, Jacob. I do want to let you know that I have heard back from the officials here. The top 20 in points are locked in. They're going to take 38, so 6 cars are going to go home from this race tonight. We've got 56 seconds left, and we've got Jeremy Dunwoody, Kendall Paul, Dustin Ramsey, David Dunwoody, and Justin Osterman have not yet taken time. Now, those guys may also be locked in from last week, too. So do kind of note that. If we go by points, the top 20 in the points from last week at Daytona: Milnes, Miller, Dorso, Guerrera, Osterman, Paul, Witt, Jeremy Dunwoody, Shane Anderson, Chad Winstead, Ken Holland, Jeffrey Goodpaster, Tyler Smith, David Dunwoody, Ted Craven, Ryan O'Donohue, Winfield Dobruck, Pat O'Brien, Keith Graham, Colby Pierce, and Dustin Ramsey. So all of those trucks that are waiting or have not yet taken time, I believe, are locked into the field. And if you're not locked in, my friend, you're one of those 6, you're going home. And so we're going to go ahead and read out the order in qualifying. Gregorio Dorso does grab the pole. Jacob Cannon's going to be to his outside. Cannon was a rocket in that race last night, if anybody watched that one. Mike George and Chad Dulaban, they're going to be on row 2. Nolan Milnes, Ryan O'Donohue, row 3. Row 4, Jeffrey Goodpacer, Chuck Sweeting, Adam O'Brien, and Jeffrey Hyatt are going to round out your top 10. In position number 11, James Hodgson. Liam Anderson is going to go 12th. Paul Witt 13th. Chad Winstead 14th. 15 and 16th belong to Albert Franklin and Jordan Denny. Michael Kirk, Marlon Alvarez will be 17th and 18th. Jacob Smith and Jason Southern are going to round out your top 20. In 21st, Ken Allen, 22nd, John Guerrera, 23rd, Tyler Smith, 24th, Sean Mott, 25th, Landon Stoker. Mark Cofield is going to flank him on the outside of row 13. This is a pretty deep field, Jacob. Brian Sharp, he's going to roll 27th next to teammate Ted Craven. Braden Langley, 29th, and Pat O'Brien is going to round out your top 30. 31st on time, Donald Green, Keith Graham, 32nd, Alan Bergen, 33rd, Michael Wingo, 34th. Christopher Thaxton is 35th, Darius Timms, 36th, John Hutchins, 37th, Joseph Klein, 38th, Marshall Harris, 39th, Kendale Paul, Andy Dunwoody, Jeremy Dunwoody, Jalen Story, Justin Osterman, Dustin Ramsey did not take time. Now remember, we're only taking 38 cars here, and so my guess is there's some sorting out that's happening in the AMA booth up there.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting the couple go homers, if you will, going home.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I don't do specifically is I do not have the comms on my side because it'll bleed through into the broadcast, and I don't believe that the fans at home want to hear it. So just because the language that you can hear in a sim race can get kind of colorful, can it not, Jacob?
I would certainly think so, because there's a lot of people who really want to be here. They give it their all, and sometimes it's just one of those days where you're not going to have enough, and that's hard. That's racing.
It most certainly is. You and I have both driven in real life. Have you ever not made the show?
No, fortunately, in a lot of stuff I've done, you're paying good money to be there in the first place, and most of the time, they've got enough space on the track or the places I'm at where they can about field as a million of us, right? They could field us 2 miles around. But I'd imagine that when you start getting to smaller and smaller bull ring-esque tracks around the country, like I'm sure you're a bit more familiar with, you got to send the people home because you don't got space.
Yeah, I've never failed to make it, but I've had. I've known people that have come quite a ways and not, they've come quite a ways. They've gone through practice and hot laps and found out that they don't get to race that night, and that's always a tough thing, especially when you're hauling equipment across country. We do have a large number of viewers, 37 people already tuned in here, and we haven't even started the engines yet, Jacob. We do have a very active chat too. Good evening to the Mystic Whisperer. I am also likewise excited for this one. It's going to be a great show. That Doughboy, let's get it. Albert Franklin and Chris Thaxton. We'll keep an eye on them for you. Greg Finelli says the 87 to the front. He's going to have a long way to get there. The 87 he's referencing is Adam O'Brien. He's not going to have quite as far to go as he did. There's Adam. He's not quite as far as to go as he did last night. He's starting 9th. Last night he started in the back row. He made it all the way to 2nd, coming to get the white flag and brought it home in a basket. So Adam O'Brien looking to improve on his result. And then Mike George gets the wish of good luck from the Mystic Whisperer. And so we are just about ready, I would think to take off here.
That we are, and I hope we're in store for one of them classic Atlanta finishes, as we all know and love.
You know, we I don't know that I don't know that I would call last night a classic. It was wild for sure. We wound up having a winner who was not on the front line coming to get the white flag. Basically, everybody on the front line found the cement at some point during the final lap, and so I certainly hope we can do better. It was exciting. I think Sam and I needed the roll aids after it was over, but the trucks rather, they're starting to roll. Would like to thank Archway Industrial Coatings for their support of the series. Archway Industrial Coatings is the series sponsor here. Also would like to thank Black Magic Studios, Admin Box, Trak Racer, Rogue Energy, all the people that support the series and these drivers. Give a shout out to them. This has been a instant hit on our channel. And speaking of the people in the channel watching, if you have not already done so, make sure you click the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. The more people that like and subscribe, the higher we go up in the YouTube algorithm rankings, and that means the more people that watch, well, Jacob, that means the better this gets for the drivers, right?
Better for the drivers, better for the sponsors, better for everybody watching at home, because you got more people to chat and talk about everything going on and off the track.
100%. There's Gregorio Dorso. He's following the iRacing pace truck around down through turn number 3. What are you thinking right here, Jacob? You're coming to get the green flag. You've got 38 trucks in this thing. What are you kind of thinking as we get ready to roll for the green flag?
Well, I want to make it back to the start finish line at least once, right?
You know, that's a good plan. I'm usually not successful at that here. My first race at Atlanta, I brought it home in I didn't even make it out of turn 2. I got involved in a netcode incident starting on the second row, and so that was disappointing. The green flag though is out for this one. We are underway, 135 laps from Atlanta.
Looks like we're already starting to get real close on the exit of 2 here.
Yeah, those guys are not they're not leaving anything to chance. The inside line looks like it is really formed up well. The guys on the outside are giving some space, but that inside line, those front 3 are locked right together, Jacob.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of races the last week or so at New Atlanta here, and the one thing I've noticed in just about every one of them is that once that inside line gets hooked up, it is really hard to generate a run on the outside.
You know it is, although, you know, last night we saw a lot of tire wear here in the Xfinity race, and I would venture a guess to say that we're probably going to see a lot of tire wear here tonight too. It's not going to manifest itself for the first 20 laps or so, but if you get 20 laps deep into a tire run, you're going to see these trucks start to slip and slide. The front 5 have broken away a little bit. You've got Adam O'Brien in 6th, and he's trying to make up ground on that bottom.
Yeah, that's the one thing you got to always keep in mind in the back of your head, right? Is if I don't have tires at the end of the run, I'm not going to be there to make up or keep the track position, right? Because one of the things that people talk about all the time with these super speedway races is you can go backwards in a hurry, but you could also go pretty much backwards without having done anything, because you could just, you know, have sat in the back the whole run and never gotten to the front to begin with.
You know, that's quite true. The other thing I wanted to point out is we were talking about tires, Sam and I were last night. The winner of last night's race was one of the guys that came under a late race caution and took tires. The guys that all wrecked at the end were at the very end. They had run their tires for, you know, there had been caution laps in there, of course, but they had been out on their tires for like 60-something laps. And so it wound up being tires that won the race last night. Now, there was contact that made that possible, of course, but keep that in mind. You've got 4 sets. You've got 2 guaranteed cautions. It is assured that these drivers will come grab tires under a caution. We do have the lucky dog rule here, and so kind of know that. But you always want to kind of keep. You're going to have one green flag stop theoretically in that last stage. And Jacob, I'm assuming you want to keep one set on the pit wall in case you need it for a late race charge.
Yeah, I'd imagine if you get a caution within the last, 10, 15 laps, so you might see a couple people take them just to see if they can muster something, especially the further back they are in the field.
Speaking of further back in the field, we are 2x2x2 pretty much through the top, 20 or so. Looking to go back. So Ken Holland, right there in the number 84, he's the last car in that kind of front group. And then right behind him, you've got the second pack. That's Mark Cofield, Tyler Smith, Landon Stoker, Brian Sharp. They're kind of running a little bit at a distance. I would venture a guess to say Brian Sharp got wrecked out early at Daytona. He got wrecked out earlier last night in the Xfinity race. I'd be willing to wager that some of these guys that are sitting in the back, Brian Sharp, who you're looking at there, Sean Mott, he's another veteran. He's the number 5 right behind. He's the number 5 right behind Brian Sharp. Pat O'Brien's back there. You've got David Dunwoody in the 28, Justin Osterman in the 53. I know we're cutting away from the leaders, but these guys I think are very much just they're laying back here, taking her easy, and not they're kind of waiting to see how this plays out. Kendall Paul's back there too.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you see at a lot of these super speedway races is people just biding their time, waiting until they can get closer to the end, judging where the runs are going to build, where they can go, who they can trust.
Now we've got a lap car already. That's Nolan Milnes. He is a lap down, looking off the front, looking out the roll bar of leader Gregorio Dorso. They are going to catch him, and when they catch him, that's going to be a heart-stopping experience, Jacob. Because this track, unlike Daytona, Talladega, it is not truly 3 lanes wide.
No, it is not, and getting swallowed up at any super speedway is, terrifying in its own right, because the lap car has to go somewhere, and sometimes it's straight through the middle, and that's when it starts getting real dicey.
It most certainly is. Watching the leaders work lap number 10. Now they're going to start lap number 11. Kind of get the drone shot going for the fans out there at home. I've been told that one's popular. So look at how close they are, Jacob.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that you can't really see sometimes with how close together. Oh, and we got a yellow.
Caution is on the speedway. Looking to see if we can't find it. That would be the 84 of Ken Holland that appears to be bent out of shape. And let's see what we've got going on for Ken Holland. That'll put him back to 37th. He's running along right in front of Brian Sharp. And then you also have the 97 truck in there too. So you've got contact in the pack ahead. Everybody starts checking up. And Mark Cofield just gets in the back of Ken Holland, turns him loose. I don't see anybody else sideways on the track or otherwise out of shape. It looks like everybody in front of him saved it, and then the old accordion effect got the 84, and he is just going to get drilled by the 51 of Donald Green. Tough break for Donald Green. Nowhere to go there. Both of those trucks are going to sustain heavy damage against the inside wall. Doesn't appear as though anybody else gets caught up in this one.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that it's hard to judge just how fast or slow cars are moving when they start moving around like that. It's almost like time stands still and you're just trying to guide your way through the smoke.
It is and it does. While we're under caution here, we do want to kind of bring up a driver or two if we can. Let's go ahead and talk to. Tell you what, let's go ahead and bring up Brian Sharp. He had a great seat. He had a great seat for that one. Brian Sharp, you got Mark Murphy and Jacob Collins in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's going on?
You had a ringside seat for that fracas. Tell us what you saw, how you got through it, and what the plan is next here, Brian.
To survive is what the plan is. It looked like coming out of the corner there, he just got ran out of real estate trying to fight over the same spot, and around he went.
That'll happen. Close quarters super speedway esque racing. But
Very much so.
We do thank you for your perspective. This is Brian Sharpie's avoided that last mess. There you see his number 125 on the track. Jacob, you have any questions for Brian here before we turn him loose? Let him go back to his Discord.
Well, what are you looking to do here in these next about 5 or 6 laps before the end of the stage here?
Well, going to try to move forward. If we can't get to the top 10, I'm just going to try to settle in and keep it clean. Although the stage points are crucial, but risking your race is not worth the headache.
Quite right there too, Brian. Well, thank you so much for joining us in the booth. We will kick you back down to the
Alrighty.
We'll kick you back down to the Dark Horse Performance Discord. That's Brian Sharp. He currently runs 19th. Good bit of driving from Sharpie. He has a lot of experience doing that. That guy does something that I would probably never do. And that is he races mini sprints.
Oh, there you go.
He's there's quite a few guys in here that are out of that Pennsylvania posse. They run mini sprints and such. Adam O'Brien's another one of those. Those guys can get it on the dirt. I would almost rather run a full-size sprint car than a miniature one, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what they say, the smaller you get, the more you are the car, right?
Which you and I grew up racing go-karts, so we're used to going fast with our rear ends, 4 quarters off the ground. I just can't bring myself to get in a mini sprint or a slingshot or something like that. Those things are wicked quick, and there's nothing to them.
No, and when it falls apart, the only thing that's left to crush is the engine block flying into the grandstands, and hopefully not you.
Which would probably be what would happen if I ever drove one. I'd probably land right next to the engine block. Barney does have the green flag up in the air. Gregorio Dorso is going to lead him down here. We're going to go back to green flag racing. We've got 14 complete, working lap 15 here at Atlanta.
And Brian got up a good point right at the end of the end of the yellow period there, and was talking about how stage points are important, but you got to finish the race, right? Like, as much as stage points matter, you still have to have a truck to finish the race at the end. Strategizing around that's really important.
And people do forget that. Everybody wants to go race for the stage points, and you think, I want to score stage points. I want to score stage points. If you don't finish the race, stage points don't matter. And so, we see Adam O'Brien. He's got that top line working. He's got the push from Jeffrey Goodpaster and Chad Winstead up there at the top. Those boys are going to the front. Chad Winstead and I have a history in this. So Winstead was the driver that finished second to me at Talladega. He and I had a fearsome fight, and I got the push from Colby Pierce at the end to go by him. But Chad, an excellent plate racer, shall we say, and he's showing us why. Do want to point out too, the truck that is numbered 17 on the track, it's 86 in the scoring table. People that watched last night, they'll recognize that truck. That's Jacob Cannon. He was rocket ship fast last night. He's showing those Christopher Bell colors off again tonight, running up there right behind Gregorio Dorso in the second spot on the bottom line, and he's looking like he wants to do everything possible to get to the inside of Dorso.
Yeah, that classic Kyle Busch Traxxas scheme. I think I recognize that one. It's one of those things that the super speedway tracks that you're always looking just that ever so slight bit on the inside or the outside of the car in front of you just to see what's going on. Maybe.
Whoa! There goes. There they go. There goes Dorso. We've got, I don't know if the yellow has not yet come out. They spun down to the bottom of the speedway, but there was contact between Jacob Cannon and Gregorio Dorso. Dorso gets the worst of it. You also see the number three truck. He takes evasive action. We're going to try to get to it, and we'll show the fans at home what happened. Adam O'Brien was leading the top line with help from Jeffrey Goodpaster. you had Jacob Cannon right behind Gregorio Dorso. And as we had mentioned, Cannon was doing the thing where he was kind of offsetting and he was looking for any bit of room to see if he could draw alongside the 38. And that appears as though that's going to be maybe a bump draft gone wrong off the corner. Dorso saved it, couldn't quite save it. Good Pacer gets turned loose. They all more or less did save it. Good Pacer is going to go through the grass. He'll get straightened up. There's going to be a pretty good hit for the 36, and I think he's probably going to get speeding on pit road as well, wouldn't you think, Jacob?
Potentially. I don't know how early he might have hit the inside wall or where exactly the pit exit cone is, but he might have got away with it.
Well, I'll tell you what he didn't do is he didn't slow down, and he certainly didn't stop in his pit box. Gregorio Dorso maintains his position on the lead lap. There you see him. He's got Jeremy Dunwoody right around him. Dunwoody has a little bit of damage on the nose of that 99. So you're gonna have the wounded helping the wounded here. But those guys need to get going because You see Ken Holland. He's bringing his machine to the pit lane in the background. Those guys are going to need to get going because as you can see on the pylon, fast lap 29.776 for now leader Adam O'Brien. Those two are 25 seconds behind, so they're in danger of being lapped. Meanwhile, O'Brien and the 98 of Chad Dulaban, they've broken away.
Yeah, they were able to clear that kind of kerfuffleage that happened with the cars checking up off turn 4 there. So it looks like they might be able to run away with this one if they're, able to work together and start, giving those bump drafts down the straight, keeping it nice and tidy through the corners and just, pulling that gap as far as they can take it.
That's a great view. You're watching off the back of Chad Dulaban. He's looking back at the pack, and that's a nice thing to see when everybody's a second behind you, and they're not giving up time. Dulaban and O'Brien have pulled away a little bit. That gap was less than a second. Now it's a little bit more than a second. So those two are organized. They're on top of each other, and if they can do that, they could stand a chance of pulling away from that pack there, Jacob.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the second group of trucks is having a bit of difficulty getting, lined up on the straight enough to get, proper pushes going. But, you know what they say, that the only thing faster than 4 wheels is 8, and the only thing faster than 8 wheels is 12, and just keep trucking the wheel count up, you'll just keep trucking.
Mike George in the 33 leads that second group. And then we've got caution on the Speedway. Caution on the Speedway. Huge accident in the turn number 1. Jeffrey Goodpaster was involved. So that would be his second of the day, and it might have started before that. We note the 125 of Brian Sharp, and Brian, we talked to him earlier. He was simply just trying to not get damaged. Unfortunately, the wreck has already started. That's Goodpaster. You've got the 97 of Cofield. They were already involved, and Sharp, he gets into it. He gets into it at the end. So, at the end of the day, the 125 ran all the way to the scene of the crash. Let's see where this starts. Okay, so you got the 20 in the back of the 97. Goodpaster gets hit by the 08. 4 cars, and the track is now blocked. And you can't really fault Brian Sharp there. He gets off the gas. You see the flames come out of the pipes, but really nowhere to go there for Brian. He's involved. So a bunch of good trucks tore up again right there early, and this is going to take us right to the end of the stage.
That it will, and it's one of those things that you see a lot more on short tracks where you just get the whole track covered in cars and there's nowhere for you to go. But fortunately there, you're usually going a little bit slower. But sometimes with these bigger tracks, you're just going so fast that when the track gets blocked up like that, you don't have anywhere to go and there's nowhere to slow down.
No, there's not. And that's something, people will ask me all the time, the people that don't, people that are unfamiliar and watching it on TV, they'll say, well, why didn't you just turn and avoid it? Well, it's not that simple. We saw Brian Sharp turn to avoid it, and he wound up being part of the accident because he turned. And so these trucks, although they're not open wheel machines, they don't have the big wings. They are very aero sensitive, and this track is so high banked that when you lift off the gas like that, it changes the aerodynamic center of pressure of the car. And when you turn the wheel, you can snap it loose. And so sometimes letting off the gas is not the best thing that you can do to avoid an accident, believe it or not.
That it isn't. I want to say, I don't know who it was, but somebody had commented during Daytona week at some point that they would take people out, like I think it was Clint Boyer. He'd take people out during like track tours and stuff and drive just slow enough so people could feel the car start to tip over because of just how much downforce you're generating because of the banking at speed. And I'd imagine that's kind of the likewise problem you have with when you get into these accidents is, you know, you're trying to slow down, but part of what's keeping you planted is you going at speed. So when you start slowing down, you start losing that rear end a little bit, and then you just, you know, have nowhere to go after a point.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I talk about it all the time with the cars that we race most often, Jacob, with the IndyCar, with the Indy cars, because it's really apparent there. You know, if you go let off the gas abruptly in those things, it transfers the center of pressure straight to the back, and you just simply cannot turn the car. Same thing with hitting the brakes. If you slam on the brakes, it puts all the aero on the nose, and you all of a sudden have no rear grip. It doesn't matter what you do at that point, you're going to spin it. And so you have to be very careful and very deliberate sometimes in your dodging of the accident. I did want to let our fans know out there that Series Director Kendall Paul is known for this. But if we are under caution, and Jacob will be able to confirm this because he can hear in-race comms, but if we're under caution close to a stage break, he will simply close pit road and extend the caution through the stage break. So Adam O'Brien will be your leader at the stage break. And have you heard that communication go out, Jacob?
That seems to be the case. It looks like we're having the caution run out to the end of the stage here, and it looks like O'Brien will indeed take the stage win here.
And that's just to have a calming effect. You know, you're already under yellow. There's no sense in going back to green to go back to yellow immediately. So he'll just extend the yellow. It also keeps another accident from happening, because typically, just like in real life, we do wind up under the yellow light immediately following a stage break. Do want to give a shout out to Archway Industrial Coatings. They're a St. Louis-based floor company that they've been getting the job done for years over there. Their epoxy and urethane flooring solutions can withstand the test of time while meeting their customers' installation schedules and budgets. They're committed to doing the highest quality work at the lowest possible cost every time. They're a strong and stable company that are accredited by the Better Business Bureau. They never sacrifice quality. And if you would like to hear more from them, you can go to their website, which is archwaycoatings.com, or you can hit up Sean Mott, who is out there in the number 5 truck, Archway Industrial Coatings. They are the title sponsor of this truck series. Do also want to thank Admin Box. Admin Box is a custom race control button box for all your race controllers out there. And I can tell you there are at least 8 admin boxes in this field, including one from your humble broadcaster. So if you're looking to, if you're a race controller or you run a league similar to this one, hit up Admin Box. Get race control at the touch of a button. It's a lot quicker than trying to type everything out. You also have Blackmagic Studios. Blackmagic Studios is a small operation providing custom iRacing paints and wraps. You can find them on Facebook and Discord, or you can go talk to Andy Dunwoody. He'd be more than happy to fix you up. Also would like to thank Trak Racer and Rogue Energy for their support of the American Motorsport Association. We have now completed the first stage. Adam O'Brien is going to be your leader. Have they opened the pits yet, Jacob?
I am unsure. I'm going to have to inspect the pace truck and see if we're... Yeah, it looks like we still got lights on the pace truck. We'll have to see here if race control is opening the pit lane or not.
There you go. We do have... I believe we've got Donald Green in the infield care center. We'll go ahead and bring him in while we're running around here under caution. Donald, a tough end to your night here in the Trak Racer 208 at Atlanta. You got Mark and Jacob Collins in the
Hey, what's up, guys?
in the P1 broadcasting booth. Tell us first of all how your night ended, and kind of what the racing was like out there.
We had a pretty fast truck for being in the back. We were able to keep up with the pack there and really get some good momentum. Unfortunately, those guys were checking up into turn one. I think the 84 got sideways. I went low on the apron to avoid them, and I just had nowhere to go. So unfortunately, we got caught up in it. It's a tough break, second week in a row being out early, but we're trying to put a team together and. Hopefully we'll have a better week next week.
That's all you can do is keep trying. Jacob, anything for Donald Green before we let him go?
Hopefully next week the gambles in Vegas pay off and you can get up near the front and have a good run.
I'll tell you what, guys, I'm ready to make some money, so we'll put it all in on this 51 truck. Shout out to Mission 22. Shout out to my wife in the chat. Always showing support. She's been super supportive. Appreciate you guys up here in the broadcast booth. The last week and this week been pretty big numbers for you guys, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, hey, we appreciate everybody that comes out and supports the series and puts their virtual automobiles on the line. We know your luck will turn around, Donald. Keep going fast and having fun, my friend.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys in Vegas.
Yes, sir. That's Donald Green. He an early pedestrian here at Atlanta. Pit stops are ongoing. It's not good, Jacob, when I can't talk. I talk on the phone for a living all day, and then I come to the booth and I talk, and I get my tongue tied more than anybody that you could possibly imagine. Jason Southern is your leader. He was on pit lane for 27.4 seconds and did not stop in his box. And so there's Jason Southern, and it looks like the 32 in the Archway Coatings.com machine is just gonna get a little bit of TV time. We are scoring Liam Anderson in second. He is the 8 automobile. So there's Liam. The 78 in front of him, that is Kendall Paul. He is 2 laps down, although Kendall will get waved around. So he'll go back to 2 laps down. He was 3. As everybody starts to form up. You see Brian Sharp, he has affected at least some repair to the 125, but he is 5 laps down now. Everybody else is on the lead lap. So Gregorio Dorso, and how about the good luck for Gregorio? He got a couple of cautions. I'm assuming he's got that truck fist. He's got a long way to go, but Gregorio Dorso, Jacob, after leading much of the early going here, he's still on the lead lap after that accident. Kendall Paul, he's 2 laps down, but you know what? You got stage breaks. You've got stage breaks, and you've got other cautions that may happen out here. You've got a lucky dog. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kendall Paul be back on the lead lap before too much longer. Brian Sharp, he's 5 laps in arrears. Ken Holland is 8 laps down. Dustin Ramsey 9 down, and we just heard from Donald Green. He's been on pit lane for 20 minutes, and I would assume it is likely night done for the driver of the 51. We get ready to come back to green. The pace truck is in 3 and 4.
All right, man. Lights are back on the pace car. We're not going green this time. We are not going green.
And they have extended the yellow 1 more lap, so the lights will go back on. Your impressions of that first stage, Jacob?
I was pretty impressed with how those couple trucks got pushed out in front once the rest of the field checked up for that Gregorio incident. I'm curious to see if there's any chance that we get another, or if we get that organically, or if it's going to take another near colossal wreck for that to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen organically. I think you're going to have some sort of event up there that makes it happen. The truck I'm going to kind of watch that's not on that front line, but he's going to make some moves, and this is just based on experience in the series. I'm going to kind of watch out for John Guerrero. He is restarting the 59 in 7th, and then right behind him you've got Paul Witt. Now, Paul Witt is a very, very, very rapid driver. I see him in the Simply Blue Pools machine, P1 logo on the side. Paul Witt is a guy that he runs up front in any sort of a track. I have battled him in many an AMA event, but Paul Witt is going to try to make his way to the front. He's one of those guys that wants to lead. Of course, you've got Chad Winstead. He's a noted plate racer, and so just kind of looking up and down guys that I'm going to be watching. Adam O'Brien. I'm also going to be watching what they do with Liam Anderson here. Liam Anderson, a driver that doesn't have a ton of experience, and so how will that play as the pace truck turns on the pit road? Green flag is in Barney's hand. We're about ready to start stage 2
Green, green, green.
here in the Trak Racer 208 at Atlanta.
Well, it looks like Liam Anderson on this restart here is about to get chucked to the wolves with how much pinching we're getting going on through the corner here.
He was only on a pit lane for 8.2 seconds, and I got to believe that's gas only, Jacob.
I would assume so. I don't think I would be.
Well, there he goes.
He managed to hold on to it. It looks like.
There's Liam. They are passing him in wholesale fashion. Liam Anderson taking it down to the apron. He got real loose off of turn number 4. The 25 truck, though, Tyler Smith can't hold it on the high side. Huge wiggle out of that machine. He's also going to go backward. I'm thinking the goal here for Liam is just settle in, see if he can't maintain a position somewhere in that top 10, and see if he can't, continue to, see if he can't just stay up there. Maybe hoping for another caution, something like halfway through this deal, where he can come and get tires and go off strategy, maybe.
That would be my thought. It's also possible he's maybe trying to save tires for the end of the race, and it looks like we may have another yellow on the Speedway.
We do. That's Gregorio Dorso. He is against the wall and very slow on the front stretch. And let's see what sort of trouble has befallen Gregorio. He was an early leader, as you can tell. He's been as low as 34th. He's there racing with a 97 of Mark Cofield. Coming off of turn 4, going through the front stretch, and it just busts loose with him going through the quad oval. Kind of nose it in the fence, and the caution will come out for Gregorio Dorso. He's going to move it back around, catch up with the field. He doesn't lose a lap. The beneficiary of all that is going to be I believe, Kendale Paul, because Pat O'Brien is already on pit lane. And so I think Kendale Paul might be in line here to get that lucky dog. We'll see. Chad Dulabon is your leader. Adam O'Brien is second. Jeffrey Hyatt, who we saw up front all night last night in the Xfinity race, he is third. Mike George fourth. Chad Winstead fifth. Chuck Sweeting sixth. John Guerrero seventh. James Hodgson is eighth. Liam Anderson has stabilized in ninth, although I think he might want to consider coming to get some tires. Paul Witt is going to round out your top 10. Anybody in particular you got an itch to talk to, Jacob? Might pull up here. I don't think we're going to see a lot of pit stops here.
Give me Winstead. Let's see what he's got.
Give him Winstead. All right, let's get Chad Winstead up here. Chad Winstead, you got Mark Murphy and Jacob Collins in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
Not too bad. It's a little bit different than when you and I were racing these things at Talladega last year. You're sitting there in fifth. I noted that you and the guys like you, O'Brien and Witt, might be kind of keeping your powder dry, but that you were noted as being pretty good restrictor plate racers. Kind of walk us through the plan to get back up toward the lead.
Yeah, Well, right now my truck has some damage, so hopefully that doesn't affect things too bad when I'm pushing. But my plan at any of these tracks is just to keep it as clean as possible, stay out of the trouble, dodge the chaos. Really, my number one goal is to be out front leading these things. So anything that happens behind me is in my mirror, and that's going to be the goal here: is to try to get to the front, stay there, and control the line, and that's what I'm going to hope for.
There you go, Jacob. What do you have for Mr. Winstead?
Well, let's hope you can Winstead in this Winstead.
That's the goal, is to win instead.
There you go, Chad. We'll keep going fast, having fun. We'll drop you back in the Dark Horse Discord and keep the shiny side up and the pointy part pointed forward. You hear?
I'm going to try my best. Hopefully next time I talk to you will be from Victory Lane.
There you go. That's Chad Winstead. He is currently running in the 5th position. Lights are out on the pace truck, and so we should be getting ready to go back to green. Kendall Paul was the recipient of the lucky dog, and that's going to put him back to 1 lap down. And so do not count out the number 78. He was as many as 3 laps down earlier. He's made it back to 1. If he can hold it, he'll be the lucky dog when we get to the stage break in 20 laps time. The pace truck is going to duck on off. Barney has the green flag back in the air. Racing will resume here at the Trak Racer 208. Coming to get lap 41 of 135. We have 19 laps to go in the stage.
Looks like Chad Doulabon got the big jump on the restart there and is leading this inside line now. It looks like they're going to try to get organized on the bottom, but it looks like we might have some people trying to make a move to the high side coming into turn 3.
There you go, Doulabon in the 98. That is the Jack Daniels livery on the 98. Kind of a reverse of Clint Boyer's Cup car of years gone by. White with black paint instead of black with white. Black with white trim. He's got Adam O'Brien loyally to his backside, and you've got Jeffrey Hyatt just a little bit back in 3rd. The nearest challenger to the top side, that's going to be Chad Winstead, who we just talked to moments ago. He said he was going to try to go to the front. Looks like he's gonna make that move now.
You know what he said? He wanted to be leading the train, so it looks like he's going to take that high side to the front. He's going to be leading it.
You know, he most certainly is. Now, I tell you what he's not doing a lot of right there. He's not doing a lot of side drafting. He's got some help from the 75 of Chuck Sweeting and the 14 of Ryan O'Donohue. They're up there, or the 88 of James Hodgson, excuse me. I misread that. But he's got some help up there, but he's not really aggressively side drafting, trying to make that move happen, is he?
No, and it's entirely possible he's just trying to get an idea of who's behind him and how much of a run they can actually generate through the corners here, because it is really hard to stay close to each other on the high side in the corners just because of how close that wall comes out on corner exit. So it's very much a cat and mouse game of trying to judge just how close you can get to not only each other, but the wall on the outside.
You know it is, and we're going to go to the blimp shot here just to kind of show everybody exactly what you're talking about. That wall... Excuse me. It used to be at Atlanta that the wall almost fell away from you at the exit of turn 2. Now the wall is kind of like Darlington over there, where it almost wants to jump out and grab you. It is also very narrow off of turn 4. As we watch from the P1 airship, these trucks slam into the high banks here. Come off of turn number 4 and back through the tri-oval one more time. Chad Doulabon is your leader. Adam O'Brien is 2nd. Jeffrey Hyatt 3rd. Mike George is 4th. The front 4 have cleared it. The battle is for 5th. The battle is for 5th. That is Chad Winstead working on John Guerrera. Chuck Sweeting is up there. Liam Anderson, he's in that 18. He has led some laps, but Liam is going to get kind of kicked out, and he's going to get put in the sucker hole. Is he going to be able to make it to the top? He
Barely.
does. He does. He might owe whoever the he might owe the 29. That's going to be the 29 is going to be Paul Witt. Liam Anderson might owe Paul Witt a cold refreshment because I think Paul exercised a little bit of better judgment and just let him in. Meanwhile, Winstead has made it up to row 3. He's going to go by Jeffrey Hyatt on the bottom, and he's going to set sail after Adam O'Brien in second. Now, we'll say that the guys on that top line, Winstead and Sweeting, they have been working hard together. The bottom has not been as organized for the trucks that they're passing. The bottom is pretty organized in terms of Dulabon and O'Brien, and then Hyatt and George there. And so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to drive by them, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, that's part of what I'm thinking here. And it looks like, the further back you go, there's a lot more people trying to jockey for every little position. Maybe there's...
Whoa, John Guerrera!
Hard into the inside wall.
Yeah, there we see it. We saw that happen just off the corner of our screen. John Guerrera backs it hard into the fence. He's racing around Jacob Cannon. He kind of gets pushed into the middle in that whited out Crown Royal machine. And it's almost like the air just sucks him around coming off the corner. He's going to get some help. He's going to get some help from the 25, but I think that car might have been gone. That truck might have been gone before it got touched. And then just a hard hit for John Guerrera.
Yeah, that's what happens when you kind of get caught middle of 3, is because the car on the outside is trying to get away from the wall, but the car on the inside is trying to stay off of that line on the inside so they don't get unsettled in either direction, and then that middle lane just closes up, and there's nowhere to go for anyone.
We're going to have him 2x2 for the lead up here. Adam O'Brien, he's going to look to the inside of Chad Dulabon. O'Brien does not have much help. Dulabon's got Winstead wearing out his tailgate. You've got the 6 of Jeffrey Hyatt. He's the interested third party over there. He's going to get behind Adam O'Brien. So instead of pushing Dulabon, Hyatt is now pushing O'Brien. Drafting partners have switched up. Dulabon now will cut back in front of O'Brien. Meanwhile, the charge of Winstead and the 75 of Chuck Sweeting continues. Now Adam O'Brien, he's going to jump up and lead that top line. He's going to try to take the lead from Dulabon on the high side.
Yeah, and I think Winstead's just pushing on every tailgate that comes in front of him because he wants to be the one at the front of that line up there.
He does. That is his MO, his modus operandi, as they say. Same for Adam O'Brien. And you got to remember, too, Winstead and O'Brien are teammates. So Winstead and O'Brien are both in that Dark Horse Performance. They're both in that Dark Horse Performance Discord. Both of those guys are talking. And they're in communication. So don't discount that for a second either. It's always interesting kind of to peel apart those subplots. O'Brien, being O'Brien, Winstead talking to each other. We've talked to Chad Winstead today. We did talk to Adam O'Brien yesterday, and so always good to talk to them. I was telling Sam the story of my first iRacing Rolex 24 was with Adam O'Brien and the fun that we had in the middle of the night, Jacob.
Yeah, we just ran our first Rolex 24 this year, me and the rest of our Rogue Racing squad. Alliteration is hard. We had a great time running our Corvette GT3 car, throughout the night. I think I ran 3 or 4 stints back to back, really early in the morning. It's real special stuff being able to do those endurance races and get those closer bonds with your teammates. And I'm sure that kind of helps with a lot of these situations, even on the super speedways, where you kind of just need to know what people are going to do, where their heads are at, right? Because everybody's going to strategize that slight little bit differently, but you want people that are on the same page and know what everybody's trying to do. You do. And so the fun for O'Brien and I came, our BMW had been wrecked early in that one. And so
Adam and I got in the car. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and my connection just completely blinked and came back. So my apologies to everybody on that that just saw that. We are back and running now, but Adam and I were looking for fun things to do as we tore back through the field, and eventually got into a cone hitting contest. This was back before iRacing was iRacing policed the cones at Daytona, Jacob. And we were actually counting the number of cones that we could hit per lap. He beat me by one cone. He reported in at the end of the race. We'd gotten the white flag. He's coming around. We got the car back up to fourth. And he reported in that that he felt like he had lost a lot of rear downforce. I checked the cameras, and sure enough, that son of a gun had 2 traffic cones sticking out of the diffuser of our BMW. So that'll do it, I guess. I understand you did get Clindy to turn right, which...
It's a miracle, I know.
It's about like me turning right, ain't it? It's so much fun. Look at a big crash. We got one around 33 on the front stretch. Caution is out. And that was...
And they were teasing that for a couple laps, too, because I want to say I saw Tyler Smith nearly get turned into the field at some point. He was able to at least hold on to it on the apron and, fall back a bit, but it looks like we were due.
Yeah, you've got, and it's coming right to the stage break again. We're at lap 59 of 135. 60 would have been the stage break. Right around the action one more time. That's right around the action one more time is Jacob Cannon. He gets to the inside of the 33. Mike George, not clear, comes down, contact is made, and then chaos is going to ensue.
Yeah, it looks like Cannon just kind of gets shot out of a cannon coming off the corner and tries to eke that nose in just a little bit on the inside, and then just 33 is just not clear in front of him, so it just turns him around, and the chaos does indeed ensue.
It doesn't look like anybody else hit anything out of that. We did have a couple of guys go for a slide. Well, I spoke too soon. That appears to be Jeffrey Goodpacer. Well, no, it wasn't Goodpacer. That was the 07 of Pat O'Brien. Just kind of gives George a little love tap there toward the end of the accident. But caution on the Speedway, lap 60, and that's going to be the stage. That is also should put Kendale Paul back on the lead lap. How about that? He didn't even have to wait until the final stage.
And that's always the thing with these races with the yellows and getting your laps back and stuff, is like if you can keep your car pointed in the right direction and out of trouble for long enough, you can get right back on the lead lap, start fighting with the leaders just as you probably might have been before you got put back that far, and then it's all guns blazing from there.
It most certainly is. Once we get the caution flag sorted out, we're going to pull Chad Dulabon up here. Once we get the caution sorted out, get pit stops taken care of, we'll get Chad up here in the booth and talk to him. He's been up front all day. He's going to be the winner of stage number 2 here at the Trak Racer 208. While we wait, I do want to thank all of the series sponsors. Of course, our entitlement sponsor, Archway Industrial Coatings. Archway Industrial Coatings is a St. Louis-based floor company that has been getting the job done for years over there. They do epoxy and urethane flooring solutions that withstand the test of time while meeting their customers' installation schedules and budgets. They're committed to doing the highest quality work at the lowest possible cost every time. Also do have Admin Box, Black Magic Studios, Trak Racer, and Rogue Energy Drink to thank. And we've got pit stops, Jacob Collins. Now,
I'm wondering does anyone bust out the Liam Anderson strat of only taking fuel here? Or did they learn their lesson after seeing how he got chucked to the wolves?
Ooh, I don't know. I know I surely wouldn't, based upon what we saw last night. Based upon what we saw last night, I don't think I'd want to. And I think Liam kind of confirmed that after about 20 laps, the tires start getting kind of getting slidey, and it gets really difficult to maintain your position on the track. Do want to thank everybody that's out there watching. Matty Wagner, the series director of the Horizon IndyCar Oval Series, he's joined the chat. He's letting us know that the Dark Horse DW12 Oval Series, they're starting soon. Jack Breckenridge, he's pulling for Lightning Liam. Great kid, great driver. It's always good to see Liam doing good. Wagner says he doesn't recognize any of these guys. Well, you got to put your reading glasses on, Wags. I kid, I jest, I joke. Jacob, you know Matty Wags and I are pretty good friends. So always a good time when he shows up in one of the broadcasts, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. It's always a good time. I love tuning into all the various leagues, especially just all over the service. It's incredible to me how so many league organizers can get, just people who are diehard to the point where they'll run 3, 4, 5 different leagues together because it's just that good of a group of drivers that come in and out every week for every single one of those races.
Yeah, our founder Gary Godso, he broadcasts one of those style leagues with the Elite Racing League. I mean, they've got 4 or 5 nights they run, and it's the same. It's the same. They've got a core group of about 25 guys, and they'll race everything. You can catch them over at the Elite Racing Network, by the way. The IndyCar, and they're all full distance over there too, which is pretty incredible. But their IndyCar broadcasts, Jacob Collins, they are presented by P1, and so it's a P1 crew on the Elite Racing Network channel, and it's a good time. Caleb Binsey won their last race over there last night. So cool deal. You should go check them out if you want to see some open wheel action. Paul Witt won the race off of pit road, and the stopwatch tells the tale, my friend, 7.5 seconds. So Paul Witt's going to be the guy.
There's always going to be one, right? They're going to take the risky strat, see if they can make something of it. That extra tire set they might have saved now might come back later in the race, where they can throw a fresh set on with 10 or 15 laps to go and charge it from the back with everything they've got because they can hold through the corner better. You never know what'll happen.
That's a great point. I always like to have, when I was doing these, I always like to have a set in my back pocket just in case you needed it. Some guys put them on early. Some guys like to put them on late. And then you've got leagues like the ISRA where Mike Rigney would give you a race that was 4 stints long, right? So he'd limit the fuel so that there were 4 stints in a race of this distance, but he'd only give you 2 sets of tires in the pits. Those were fun. Those were fun to call.
You can only smoke as much tire as you got, Mark.
That's almost a Clindyism. That's almost a Clindyism, or is that a Collinsism that he steals?
It's probably a bit of both at this point, honestly.
Of course, circling among broadcast partners and different things on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Tomorrow is an off night for our channel. Gary Godso will be calling the Velocity Online Racing race from Road America. You can catch that at 3 o'clock at the Velocity Online Racing channel. Sunday, I believe, and I'm going to have to get it pulled up. I did not come prepared, Jacob, and that's about par for me, as you know. Sunday, we're going to have the votive. We're going to have the votive series, and they are going to be at Phoenix, the improper version of Phoenix. That'll be 8 o'clock. Monday night, Clindy and I, we're going to call a race from Sebring in the IndyCars, and that's going to be kind of a prep race for a lot of guys. That'll be the Monday night IndyCar Open Series top split. That's Monday at 7. Immediately following that, Gary Godso and LGN will be in the booth for the SimMotion ISRA Open Wheel Series race at Iowa. That'll take place at 9:30. Tuesday, the flagship broadcast, you can see Jacob Collins and the rest of the road racing crew. They're going to take to Homestead. I will not be there for that one. My kid's first communion is this year, my oldest, so I have to go to the meetings, Jacob. The Horizon.
Well, everybody loves a good meeting, but I'm watching these guys meet the bumpers almost immediately, and that's what's drawing me in right now.
Yeah, they're all over each other. We've got caution on the Speedway. I do not have anything that says any contact. What are you seeing out there, Jason or Jacob? I'm sorry.
I am actually not sure what happened, to be honest. It must have been pretty deep in the field, because
Sean Mott is slow and getting on pit lane in the number 5. Could have had an equipment failure maybe, and he just got too slow.
potentially.
You know, I think that's what it was. Mott goes to get on pit lane, and he must have had a pedal failure or something, because he's going pretty slow down the back, and he wasn't quite to the pit road entrance, and it triggered the caution flag. Sean Mott is on the pit lane, and he's been there for almost a minute. So we'll go back to Chad Dulabon. Continuing the rundown, Wednesday we're going to have the Horizon IndyCar Series at 8. I'll have that one. They'll be at Pocono. The Formula Indy Series. Have you ever watched that, Jacob?
I've seen a couple races. It's really interesting seeing Indy cars with standing starts.
It is. So it's Formula One rules, but with Indy cars, they're going to do their only oval of the. They're going to do their only oval of their season. That's going to be at Milwaukee. They're going to do that at 8:20 on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Sam Crow and I will be back for this for the Blackmagic Studios Grand National Series right here. This series is off next Friday, so we'll get a break. We'll get a break on the 28th. This series off the 28th and the 7th. This the Xfinity Series will be at COTA on Thursday. How about that? And then Saturday, the big one starts. The IndyCar iRacing, the iRacing IndyCar Series, presented by 40 Racewear, 1 o'clock in Collins. You going for that one?
I don't think I'm going to be this year. I think I've been pulled in to do some of the Wednesday nights that we're doing for that series this year. I think Barber in Mid-Ohio might be on my docket in terms of being in the booth, but other than that, I think I'm taking a hiatus from the iRacing series this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do the ovals. Clearly, you will not catch me within 1,000 miles of any of those road courses, especially Sebring. I don't know what it is. I do fine in the prototypes there, but every time I take an IndyCar there, I always take a wrong turn.
Well, it is pretty easy to get lost. They got a lot of roads going on around Sebring. Just, one small turn and you're on a completely different layout of the track and have no clue where you are.
And there's not a lot of depth perception either, because it's all flat. And so you might, and they're not all marked with cones or other things either. So it's really easy if you're used to the short course to take the short course on the long course, or vice versa. I did that in a race once and got disqualified. Believe it or not. So anyway, we're under caution, working at lap 68 of 135. I promised that we would get Chad Dulabon up here, and I am going to make good on that right now. So, well, maybe.
I think it might be a little late here.
He
might be coming to green here.
Yeah, we might be coming to green. He is also no longer in the Discord. So I think I've lost my chance to talk to Chad Dulabon. That's unfortunate. And you are quite right. The pace truck is going to pop on off here. We'll get back on the flag stand with Barney. He's got the green flag in his air, in his hand. It's in the air. And guess what that means, Jacob?
Green flag, green flag.
Bumper to bumper action.
We're going to go racing one more time here at Atlanta.
Dulabon and O'Brien with a big launch on the restart there.
Yeah, they got out in front. They got Chad Winstead right behind him too. Jeffrey Hyatt is ensconced in fourth, and the scramble is right behind him. You see Paul Witt. He's pulled up in front of Jacob Cannon in sixth. Now Cannon's going to make it 3 wide through the middle. He's got Liam Anderson on the bottom.
The sheep come to return to their flock.
We've seen some really aggressive moves out of Jacob Cannon both last night and tonight. He was up front for almost the entire run last night. He's been up front most of, if not the entire night tonight. He's had his trials. He's had his tribulations. but he is back up to the 4th spot now. I'm loving this blimp shot, though, Jacob. It gives a great perspective of kind of the accordion effect and the runs that guys get. You see Paul Witt there. He's in the outside in the 29. Winstead's going to jump up in front of him. O'Brien is still married to the back of Chad Dulabon, though. He is not leaving the rear bumper of that 98 machine.
No, and that's one of those things that you once you kind of get into a rhythm of following a single truck or single car around here or any of these super speedways, you kind of just get used to like where are they getting their speed in? Like, are they getting it through the corner in the middle on exit?
Well, we got a car
straightaway?
around in the back. Car around in the back.
Oh,
That's Andy Dunwoody. He got that truck completely sideways. We're going to go back and watch this. Watch this save, Jacob. This is incredible. He's to the inside of the 25 of Tyler Smith, or to the outside of Tyler Smith, excuse me, behind the 11. And watch the truck of David Dunwoody, that 28 Black Magic P1 liveried machine. It's going to turn loose with him right about now. The 95 is going to get in the back of him. That's Marlon Alvarez. Around he goes. They kind of touch. They door slam. They both keep on trucking. How's that for a save?
It is amazing to watch two paneled vehicles just smack into each other and point each other straight again.
They did so, and Dunwoody, believe it or not, he didn't even lose a spot out of that.
No, and I think the even wilder thing is O'Sullivan, or was it Liam? He got sideways through the corner almost immediately after that, managed to save it nearly on the apron and didn't lose a spot either.
No, he's staying up there. He got tires that time. Did Liam O'Sullivan. So he's set to go here. We're gonna come and get 60 to go, and this is one of my favorite times of the race. We flip from laps completed to laps to go. 61 to go this time by.
Getting down to crunch time. I would like to correct ourselves. That is Liam Anderson, not O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan's a regular in one of our many other broadcasts.
That is quite true. Liam O'Sullivan, of course, the Briton. He runs in the Velocity Online Racing team. Liam's got pretty good people. We'll see him tomorrow at Road America in that broadcast with Gary Gazzo on the other network, on the Velocity Online Racing Network. Julian Altena and that gang. That's a fun series. I've run that for a few years. I think this season's going to be my last one, just because of kids and other commitments. But I have very much enjoyed that series, and that's the fun thing about that one. Is that you get to see drivers that you don't normally see in our other broadcasts because it's a European base, and so they run that thing at 8 or 9 p.m. local time in London, right? Julian Altena, of course, Dutch. You've got quite a few drivers from Germany, France, the Scandinavian countries. Liam O'Sullivan, of course, is English. There are Americans in the field, too. It takes place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday for us. But it's a lot of fun to get to race against those guys that you don't really get to see all that often.
Yeah, I think that's always been one of the big appeals of league racing, too, is you can organize things to when you can get, different groups of people at different times of day where, the iRacing official stuff may only go for select hours for the U.S. crowd, and, you get different track selections and all that other fun stuff. But I think we're getting quite a bit of a race up here at the front because we've got about 2 trains of 3 cars apiece just almost deadlocked at the front here.
We are, and then you got Landon Stoker. He's kind of in no man's land. He's in 7th. He's got some help coming from behind him in Tyler Smith, and then you've got the snarling herd right behind them. I don't necessarily know that I wouldn't want to be Landon Stoker. He looks pretty safe there. He's got a couple of car links in front. He's got a couple of car links behind. He doesn't have anybody is on his outside. He can just kind of run comfortably there and save his stuff, Jacob.
Yeah, that's always the risk you run, too, though, is you might get a little bit too comfortable in that gap in the middle, and then something either happens right in front of you or right behind you, and then you're right in the thick of it again.
Well, he's not going to have a gap very long because David Dunwoody just pulled the 28 right up on the back of Chad Winstead. And I would venture a guess to say that Dunwoody is going to start wearing out the back of the team car there. We're gonna hang off the left side door of that 28. That's he's not leaving much room there, that's for sure.
No, sir. And it looks like we might have had one car in the wall coming through 3 and 4 there. I'm not quite sure who it was, but they looked like they got it re-going, but
There you go. So that'll tell you how close he's getting. When you see the rear bumper in iRacing disappear, and now you're looking at the hollow of the gas tank, that means they're locked together, fans. You don't get any closer. You don't get any closer than that from Andy Dunwoody. We'll show one more angle, and this will give you an idea of how high the banks are here and what they're dealing with. This is a gyro cam hanging on the roll bar of the 28. It also gives you an idea of how little you can actually see as he goes through the middle.
yeah, and it looks like we've had a number of cars just behind where we're on board here getting close and argy-bargy with each other. It looked like a couple cars might have pushed each other essentially just apart from each other, and one going down the track and one going up the track. So we're getting down to crunch time, and people are getting antsy.
They are, and so we've separated it down now. There's about 12 cars in this lead group. Jason Southern in the 32, he brings up the rear. You've got Marlon Alvarez. He is trying desperately to hang on to the back of the pack. He got really kind of wiggly out of the corner there, but he doesn't really have much help. Ryan O'Donoghue is pretty far behind, but you've got 4 or 5 trucks that are kind of behind him, going back to Michael Kirk, and then you've got quite a gap between Michael Kirk and Paul Witt. If you look off of the nose of Michael Kirk, there's the pack, and so these guys are just trying to get organized and get caught back up here. Paul Witt would have been one of the guys that I would have thought would have had a say in the finish of this thing, and he still may, but he's lost significant time. And then you've got another group yet that is something like half a lap down. That's Nolan Milnes and Kendale Paul. They are 10 seconds in arrears. You've got Jacob Smith. You've got a group led by Jacob Smith. Braden Langley's in there. Jeremy Dunwoody, Gregorio Dorso. A lot of these cars, Brian Sharp, have been wounded in previous accidents. So they're just trying to keep on keeping on. Gregorio Dorso, who is all alone, he is 1 lap down. He's just trying to he's staying out, just thinking, man, I need a caution, I need a caution, I need a caution. But there are defined groups out here. We do want to go back to the front, though, because the action is getting hot and heavy. Lena Anderson gets on the apron. That is bad. Jacob Cannon gets right sucked underneath the rear tailgate of Chad Winstead there. That was almost bump draft bad there, Jacob.
Yeah, and I want to say that maybe it was Hutchison in the 88. I think he's the blue and white truck nearly got pushed through the quad oval and got shot backwards, or we might have the truck right behind him. Was that Paul Witt again? I have no clue. I'm trying to recognize these things from about a couple hundred feet out, and it's getting tricky.
Yeah, there's the 88 of Hodgson. He's running along. He's got some help. We've got the 16 around. Caution is out. And there's the break that Gregorio Dorso was looking for. We got to find the 16 in the running order so we can show what happened to Jordan Denny. He's around. He's 11 laps down. And let's see just kind of what happens to him here. That's going to bring out the caution. And that's a huge break for Dorso. It looks like he's going to have some contact from the 95. And just, I don't know that that's anything more than just 2 guys coming together. That's Marlon Alvarez that gave the assist. Through the grass goes the 16. Caution on the Speedway. He does not hit anything. I'll bet he's going to want some new Goodyears, though.
Yeah, I would imagine with that much sliding going on, you're not going to have too much of them left.
Probably not. Jeffrey Hyatt is now your leader. Adam O'Brien is second. Chad Dulabon is third. David Dunwoody hid in the back for the first 2 stages. He's been, I wouldn't say all the way around, but he's been most of the way around in that 28. He is now fourth, and Chad Winstead is fifth as we come to caution. 47 coming to get 46 laps to go. See if we can't. Let's see if Chad has popped himself back in. He has. Chad Dulabon, you got Mark Murphy and Jacob Collins in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Chad. You got Mark and Jacob in the P1 broadcasting booth. You've been up front all day. You kind of got shuffled a little bit back there with a run from Hyde and O'Brien. 46 to go, 45 when you get to the line. Are you guys gonna pit here and take your final stops, or is this you guys gonna wait?
No, I think I'll take my final set of tires. Maybe we'll get a yellow or two, and I'll be okay. I thought about conserving them, but I don't want to get shuffled to the back.
You know, that's a great point and a great plan. You've been up there all night. We'll let you get on about your business, get on to pit road, and get that taken care of. I don't want to distract you and be the reason you sped. So keep going fast and having fun, and good luck, my friend.
Okay, appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. That's Chad Dulabon. We'll move him back to his area in the Discord. He's running the 98. This guy right here, not a name that watchers of the AMA series would be familiar with. He's led 34 laps. He was up front a ton in that Xfinity race last night too. Or he was up front a ton at Daytona too. Excuse me. So Chad Dulabon having another good run in the 98. Pit stops though are very much underway. I think we've got the whole field coming down to get service here, Kendale, or not Kendale, Jacob. I'm sorry.
Kendale, Clendy. We got a lot of the KLENDs going on around here.
I'll tell you what.
It's
like I said earlier, man. When you talk on the phone all day and then you broadcast at night, I spend 12 to 14 hours of my day talking, and about 75% of that, my tongue is tied. So, not a great feeling. You got to shout out. You got fans. You have fans in the chat for you being in the booth, brother.
Yes, that would be my lovely girlfriend Sammy. I asked for nice permission to be allowed to do this broadcast on short notice, so I'm very glad that she's here supporting me being able to do this. So shout out to her. Shout out to everybody else in the chat watching this, because it's an honor to be here. You know, and we're honored to have you. And we do thank Sammy. We do thank Sammy from the bottom of our hearts here at the P1 Broadcasting Network. Shout out to my wife too. The wonderful Miss Natalie is in the other room. She's, I'm guessing, watching some sort of a dance show on Netflix and enjoying the fact that I'm not in there bothering her. Right? So there you go. Marlon Alvarez and Landon Stoker did not pit. So the Coors Light number 20 and the 95 of Marlon Alvarez, they stayed out. Now this is the most that we've had Jacob stay out. Yeah, and I'm wondering if a couple of them have thought that, you know what, I'm going to risk it on these old tires, and you know what, if I get sent to the back, I could just go put the fresh ones on that I might have needed to take before. Yeah, I don't think we're done having yellows here. I would bet you a shiny new dime, brother, that we're going to have at least one more. I bet you a shiny new dime we're going to have at least one more, and so maybe that's what they're thinking. You know, you did hear from Chad Dulabon. He's taking his final set. So, you know, if these guys have one on the wall and they can come get it with 20 to go or so, that may prove to be a huge advantage. And speaking of huge advantage, do want to thank everybody that's out there watching tonight on the P1 Broadcasting Network. If you have not already done so, we've got extracurricular activity in the back. Yeah, we've got cars wrecking under caution, it looks like.
All right, man. Light you back on the pace car.
Do we have some beef?
I have no idea. Again, I can't hear what's going on.
It looks like it's the 16 truck again.
Yeah, we did have the 16 of Jordan Denny, and I don't exactly really kind of know what happened. We've got a ton of trucks slowing down. Maybe they're moving the lap trucks to the rear. He comes up and gets into the 28 of Andy Dunwoody, David Dunwoody there, spins him around, coming out of turn 2. But that's not the only set of. That's not all the contact that happened there. You've got Dunwoody around, multiple trucks taking evasive action to the apron. You've got trucks stopped up on the top line, up next to the wall. Interesting scenes here. Dunwoody has moved back into his position that he was in, so it did not cost anything. Jordan Denny has been moved, it appears, to the rear of the field. I think what happened there, you had a whole bunch of lap cars that were trying to slow down because they get moved to the rear here, Jacob, and it just kind of it wound up in a mess.
Yeah, and sometimes I think it's hard to know where you're supposed to go when you get told to shuffle to the back because people are kind of all over the place trying to just figure out where to line back up, especially on double file restarts where you've got, people in the middle, at the bottom, all over the place trying to, line back up to get this race going again.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Jacob Cannon says hello. We may talk to him yet. Over under 3 cautions. I'm going to go under. I think we're going to have less than 3. What do you think there, Jacob?
I think we might get exactly 3.
Might get exactly 3. So a couple of optimists here in the booth. Of course, Colby Pierce checking in. He's a regular in the series. He's off doing racing things of his own this weekend, so he's unable to make the Xfinity Series or the truck race tonight. No Grand Nationals, no trucks for Colby Pierce, but he is in the chat cheering on boss man David Dunwoody. Green flag is back out. Racing is going to resume. 42 laps to go here in the Trak Racer 208 from virtual Atlanta.
That inside line got a massive run started almost immediately. But, of course, we've got Chad Winstead hopping right to the outside looking to make that run on the high line.
I think he's been doing that most of the day. He is up to Adam O'Brien. Now you're going to have Jeffrey Hyatt jump up in front of Winstead. Landon Stoker on the bottom, Hyatt on the top. Row 2, Adam O'Brien and Chad Winstead. Row 3 is, well, it was Marlon Alvarez, but he kind of got kicked right out of there, didn't he?
Yeah, it looks like he got chucked maybe middle or outside of 3 and just got sent immediately backwards. So we'll see if he can manage to gather it back up and get moving towards the front here.
So Colby Pierce, he is not playing hooky on us to go to the racetrack. He says he has COVID, so Colby, feel better. That's the main thing. A huge shot from the 20 of Landon Stoker to the 6 of Jeffrey Hyatt. That's going to send Hyatt back to the lead. Cannon is going to switch lines from the top to the bottom. He goes from pushing Winstead to pushing Hyatt. Move Jacob Cannon to third. Chad Dulabon, he's going to make himself known on that top line. He's going to get right in behind Winstead. And then they've got help from series veterans David Dunwoody. And look who's up there. We talked about him. He'd been at the back. He'd been disconnected from the draft. How about Paul Witt? He's moved up to 6th.
Yeah, I think Paul might have been able to take some fresh tires here at some point. He's right back in the thick of things.
He most certainly is. Now Cannon and Hyatt are welded together on that bottom, but the bottom is not organized. The other bit is that you have on that top, you've got Winstead, Dunwoody, and Justin Osterman and Adam O'Brien. Those are all team cars. Paul Witt is not a team car to them, but Paul Witt is a known quantity to those guys. And so they've all raced together for a pretty long time. And kind of talk about that too, Jacob. The guy might not be your teammate, but if it's a known is somebody you know in this deal better than somebody you don't?
I would certainly think so. And you know what the saying goes is keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And I think that's one of those things that you start to notice your opposition and who's able to be trusted and who isn't able to be trusted quite as much. And so you'll see that a lot of these guys will probably point out a couple trucks towards the end of this thing here that are maybe running near them or near the front that are like, okay, well, these guys we can work with for a while, and then point out some other ones that say we need to leave these guys like 50 car lengths back.
You raise a good point, and we're going to get back on the P1 airship, kind of look over this front 6. The Black Magic and Dark Horse Performance trucks, they're there together. but they're not necessarily working together. Dunwoody has jumped to the bottom. He is now behind Jacob Cannon. He's left Chad Winstead to be helped by Chad Dulabon. So the Chads are working together on the top. They've got help from Paul Witt, and now Justin Osterman has pulled up behind him. Look at these camera angles. Back on the airship, they're going to shuffle Chad Winstead out now. He's going to be 3 wide on the top, and they all make it.
Yeah, Dulabon just poked the nose in when Winstead went up the track, and he gets shuffled back a couple cars. But fortunately, he's going to stay third in line on the top there, so hopefully he can maybe get another run to shoot back by him.
100%. He's got some help from Justin Osterman there on the top. That top line going to accordion right back together. A shot from the 17 of Jacob Cannon, which is numbered 86 on your scoring pylon to the rear end of Jeffrey Hyatt. Dulabon works the outside with Witt. We're now under 35 to go, 34 to go this time, and you gotta figure that business is going to start getting a little bit more desperate up here, Jacob.
Yeah, as those laps click down, the pressure starts mounting slowly but surely. It's like all those wonderful like hydraulic press videos that people seem to love watching for some reason. You just keep cranking it down ever so slowly until something's going to crack.
Yeah, nothing can stand up to that hydraulic press. I don't think I've seen anything yet that thing doesn't crush. So eventually, the pressure must be released from the vessel, and we're going to see how long that takes here. The front four, they're starting to get argy-bargy with each other now, to borrow your euphemism. Really close there between the 17 and the 29. At the same time, the 6 and the 98 almost came together.
Yeah, it looks like they're just working on getting closer and closer and closer together, and eventually just, that little bit of inch that isn't there is going to come back to bite somebody.
Well, and the other thing is they need to get organized. They've got 2 sets of teammates behind them. You've got Dunwoody on the bottom. He's got help from Justin Osterman. On the top, Chad Winstead has Adam O'Brien right behind him. We know that O'Brien and Winstead are both fast. Dunwoody and Osterman have been in the back most of the day. They found their way to the front now. Also hanging on to the rear of this thing, and give a call down to Liam Anderson. It wasn't too long ago he was sliding through the field on old tires. How about that? Liam Anderson hanging in there in 10th.
Absolutely. He's made the strategy call to, hold on to the tires to the end, and maybe this is the time. This is the time where that call is going to come out to pay out, and that's just kind of the risks you run throughout the course of these races. Is you need to know when the tires might just pay off in the end and make the most of them when you got them.
100%. The 2 pairs of cars at the front are just welded on top of each other, especially Cannon and Hyatt. Jacob Cannon is really pushing that 6 about as much as he can be pushed. The top 2 are close, but they're not as close. They're not tandem drafting near as much. I would like to note Dunwoody, Winstead, and then the second set of Dark Horse Performance and Black Magic trucks. That's Osterman on the bottom and O'Brien on the top. They've kind of backed off, and I wonder if that's just them kind of saving. Fuel doesn't matter. I don't think they're saving fuel. I think they're saving engines, and I think they're saving tires.
Yeah, that is kind of the risk you run with the bump drafting stuff too, is if you do it too much, that water and that oil temp starts going up and up and up. And if you do it too much, eventually you have to back out of it. And then you might lose all that momentum you spent so hard trying to push on each other to even gain in the first place.
Yeah, Paul Witt, he's pulled down behind. He's now used that hole that Dunwoody was leaving to fill in on the bottom. So that's going to leave. Well, now the 98 gets in. So Chad Dulabon gets in. So now we've got really the front 5 are single file. There's a bit of a gap between the blue and black of Paul Witt and the 2 leaders. And then you've got Witt, Dulabon, Dunwoody, and Osterman as they slam into this banking one more time. They're all kind of single filed off. And I think these guys would kind of like to stay that way maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking that after they've seen how close together they've gotten over the course of the last 5 or 6 laps, that
Spoke. We spoke too soon. Andy Dunwoody pulls to the high side of Chad Dulaban, and they're going to put Paul Witt 3 wide in the middle, maybe. Dunwoody's going to back out of that. He's going to slide right in behind Witt.
just as we thought they were going to get off that lever on the hydraulic press, they just put it right back down. And, I think Chase and Chad had a good point. Have we tried the Nokia phone?
I noticed that Colby typed that in the chat, and so I was wondering what that was in reference to. But that's a good one. Dunwoody's going to slide it back to the inside. Osterman's going to pull up right behind Witt. He's got Winstead and O'Brien behind him. Top 3 single filed. First battle for position is 4th. That's the 28 of Dunwoody underneath the 29 of Paul Witt. Osterman behind, and then we've got caution.
Caution is out.
Big crash on the back. James Hodgson has gone for a wild ride in that 88. Caution is on the Speedway with 25 to go. So there's one, and let's see what's happened here. All right, so we're watching the 88. He's going through 1 and 2. He's under the 84, and he's got the 83 behind him. That's the 84 of Ken Alland, the 83 of Braden Langley, and it looks like the truck just broke loose with James. He backs it into Alland, and he's going to go. It started to go over, but the 25 there kind of finished him off. Up and around and over goes the 88 of James Hodgson. Caution on the Speedway. 24 laps to go here. So the question is now, pit or no pit? You can't you can't burn the rubber if you don't got it. And how many of these guys have the rubber to got? Is my thought. There are 20 cars on the lead lap, Jacob. If that plays in your calculus at all, Gregorio Dorso would be the lucky dog, I do believe.
That does appear to be the case. I want to say we're getting about maybe half the cars still moving down the pit lane. Now, how many of those are lead lap ones is kind of hard to tell. I'd imagine it's probably only a couple of them. I'd imagine if you're maybe in the top 5 or 6, you're staying out no matter what. Maybe 10th on back, you come in if you've got the tires, but it's, if you've even got them in the first place.
Well, and so I can kind of cheat. So ATVO is my friend. Paul Witt, Jeffrey Hyatt, Paul Witt, Landon Stoker, Chuck Sweeting, Nolan Milnes, Ryan O'Donohue are the lead lap cars that did stop. It does not. Gregorio Dorso is now back on the lead lap. He has not stopped. So basically 15th on back on the lead lap has stopped. The front 14 have not. So Cannon, Dulaban, Dunwoody, Winstead, Osterman, O'Brien, Anderson, Cofield, Southern, and Smith, your top 10. Braden Langley, Kendall Paul, Tyler Smith, Michael Kirk. They are on 22-lap old tires. With 22 laps to go, Jeffrey Hyatt, Paul Witt, Landon Stoker, Chuck Sweeting, and Nolan Milnes have taken new tires, as has Ryan O'Donohue. Gregorio Dorso has not. Dorso was the lucky dog, and that means he'll have to start tailing Charlie here on this next restart, and we're getting ready to come right to it. It'll be 21 to go when they get to green flag, and that hydraulic press is about to restart, Jacob.
Yeah, they're going to dial it all the way back out just to start slowly creeping it down again. And every time you get one of these restarts, it's almost like the press starts back at a lower volume because people realize, well, this might be the last chance I get to make the jump to 3, 4, 5 positions in front of me, or even take a shot at the lead.
That's very true. And you never know kind of about the move from Witt and Hyatt and those guys. It did win the race last night, but every race is a little bit different. Jacob Cannon is doing a bit of blinking there at the front. We do hope that connection stabilizes. That is not fun when you get disconnected leading a race, is it?
No, I can't. I can't imagine it is. And I know, the infamous Ryan Campbell with the Christmas tree connection. He has a bit of a struggle with that. But we're about to go green here, like
We
a Christmas tree.
we are indeed. No Christmas trees. Cannon hits the loud pedal. He's going to burst out in front of Chad Dulabon and Andy Dunwoody. The race is back on. 22 laps, 21 laps now. Set to decide the Trak Racer 208 here in the American Motorsports Association Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. We're going to get the camera. I'm going to get the camera on Paul Witt. He has burst up to 12th. He restarted 16th. He's burst up to 12th. He's working on Kendale Paul for 11th. Let's see how long it takes Paul Witt to get back to the front of this field. He's the only car on the outside. Now we're going to have caution on the Speedway. I do not see a reason for the accident or a reason for it. Mr. Collins, do you have anybody we should take a look at here?
I don't think I've found anybody yet, but I'm gonna keep investigating because that did seem quite instantaneously and quite bizarre. I didn't see quite anybody lagging back or stuck in the middle of the speedway anywhere.
I didn't either. I do note that James Hodgson has punched out of the 07, but he was on pit road, so I don't see how that would have happened. I don't see anybody damaged. There's Dulabon, Dunwoody, Winstead, Osterman, Cofield, O'Brien, Anderson in 8th, Jason Southern 9th, Jacob Smith is 10th. It could have just been one of those deals where maybe a lap car was too slow or something like that down on the apron maybe. I don't.
Yeah, it's always possible somebody stopped on the speedway somewhere where they might not have been off the racing surface, so the service decided that we needed to put out the old lemon flag, but
Speaking of Nokia phones, and we've got we're talking about Nokia phones. Maybe that's Campbell's issue. His connection is from a Nokia phone.
I would be really impressed if he could hotspot off of a Nokia phone.
I'm going to tell you this, and we had a situation. So, we had a situation here where the power went out, and I've got one of the battery backups for my rig, and it'll last about 3 or 4 hours. I actually did a race with a hotspot. Now it was off of an iPhone, whatever the latest generation of iPhones is, right? But actually did a race off of a Verizon hotspot using my phone and a battery backup in order to keep a points deal going in Area 51. I didn't want to take the 0 for the day, so we got it going. The internet eventually did come back on during the race, and I think I wound up on the podium in that one, so it was worth it. But you can do that. There are people that do that, Jacob, and it is viable.
Well, I know that there's those people that have like full simulator setups inside their semi trucks, so when they're out doing all their deliveries and whatnot cross country, they can go to the back of their sleeper and go clock in a couple laps at their favorite track around the country, and that's got to be quite the blast in its own right.
I've seen that. My goodness, I some of those rigs, my uncle, my great uncle, an over the road truck driver for a very long time. I've seen some of the insides of those things, and I wonder what Uncle Louie would think about them, because they're almost like miniature. Well, not even miniature. They're almost like RVs now, in terms of the appointments and spaciousness and things of that nature. Now, I don't begrudge that at all. Those guys deserve it. But my goodness, those things are getting awfully nice. Those things are getting awfully nice, and we know that there are sim rigs. Not only in semis, there are sim rigs in airplanes. Max Verstappen has one, and I know for a fact that there are sim races on boats. And so I missed a race. I I missed a race in the ISRA series that I'm running with Clindy because I took a cruise. Had I gone on an MSC cruise, they actually have rigs on the cruise ships.
Now that would be quite the story to tell. Yeah, I was on a cruise and I won like a sim racing championship from a boat, like middle of the Atlantic.
You know, and it's not up until a few years ago that wouldn't have been possible. Those ships all now have Starlink now, though. So, you know, the internet connection out in the middle of the ocean, believe it or not, is quite good. We're coming back to green here, 17 to go for the Trak Racer 208. We were, you know, technology being what it is, we were able to with an app stream the cable package from our house to the TV on our cruise ship. Not only that, we had them watching Gary Godso on that Monday night. We had them watching, or that Tuesday, that Tuesday night, or that Monday night. We had them watching the Open Series, and we had them watching the SRA race. We've got trouble in the back of the field. That is going to be Jacob. I wasn't quite quick enough. That was Jeffrey Goodpaster, who slid all the way through the tri-oval. No caution though. He kept it pointed in the right direction. Goodpaster has had a day, and it keeps going. Let's see what happens to Jeffrey Goodpaster. But yeah, the internet connection was sufficient enough to. He's going to get hit by Brian Sharp. Sharp got loose on the top and came down.
Yeah, we got cars all over the place now. I think that might be the biggest one we've seen so far tonight. I think that was Liam Anderson getting loose on the apron and then getting all sorts of squirrely all over the place trying to gather it up and just couldn't gather it up in time for anybody behind him.
I don't know that it started with Liam Anderson on the apron. We're going to go back and look at the 18 here. Under caution with 14 laps to go. We're going to look at the 18. He's got Paul Witt behind him. Kendale Paul on the bottom. He's actually on the outside, Jacob. Witt's going to put him 3 wide out there. Anderson comes down. Those two make contact. Bounce into Kendale Paul. And now Liam Anderson gets turned loose. And this is where I think it really gets to going on. Well, he's not quite hit it yet. Now he's hit it. Subsequent to that, the 83, the 11, and the 14, they all hit each other. And so Ryan O'Donohue, he's involved with the 11 and Nolan Milnes. The 83 is Braden Langley. So all three of those trucks. And Milnes's automobile, my goodness, the front end is basically ripped off of that machine. So huge accident here, and we are now at 3 cautions. Tough break too for Liam Anderson. And through all that, Andy Dunwoody has gone to second. He'll be on the front line with Jacob Cannon. So Dunwoody from 41st in the field to second. Now there's a hard charger for you, Jacob.
Yeah, you got to think that he's probably passed just as many cars that have basically been in this race at this point, starting that deep in the field.
Well, if he was 41st on time, that means he would have started in the back. Remember, we narrowed it down to 36. We didn't know who was not going to make the field, and want to give those guys their due. Alan Bergen, we're going to give those, we started 38. We want to give those guys their due. If you miss the field tonight, don't think you can't come back. It makes the series that much more healthy when people show up and keep racing. So don't give up. These restrictor plate races can be pretty difficult to qualify for, and come back for the next time. You got a week off to regroup. The next race for this series, we're off the next 2 weeks on Friday night. Las Vegas, the high stakes 200, March 14th, right here at 8:30 on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Sam Crow will be back in the booth, and then the following week, March 21st, we'll be at Homestead, Miami, and that is Homestead, Miami, along with Texas and New Kentucky, they might be my 3 favorite tracks in the entire thing. But we'll go to Homestead, Miami, March 21st, and then we'll end up March with the Norfolk Southern 200 at Martinsville. So that's the schedule here for the AMA Truck Series. And while we're under caution, do want to thank our entitlement sponsor. That is Archway Industrial Coatings. They are a St. Louis-based flooring company that have been getting the job done for many years. They do epoxy and urethane flooring solutions that withstand the test of time, all while meeting their customers' installation schedules and budgets. They're committed to doing the highest quality work at the lowest possible cost every time. You can go visit their website. That's archwaycoatings.com. Or you can talk to Sean Mott. He is number 5 in the series. Sean Mott is currently, I believe, on pit road. There's the Archway Industrial Coatings number 5. He is on pit road. He's been there for about 45 minutes. He is going to finish 35th. But we do want to thank Sean Mott for him and his company's support for the AMA Truck Series.
All right, man. Lights are back on the pace car. We're not going green this time. We are not going green.
We're going to extend the caution one more lap, as you all have heard. This is a huge thing for the points tonight, too. Nolan Milnes was leading coming into this thing. He, of course, was involved in that accident. Andrew Miller is not here. Gregorio Dorso has had his issues, as has John Guerrera. Justin Osterman, of the people in the top 5 in points, Osterman is probably the best running. He's in 4th. Kendale Paul, he is 6th in points. He is running in 7th. And Paul Witt, 7th in points. Paul Witt is currently 9th. So some trouble, too, for the early points leaders in this thing. And there are no drops, Jacob. They do a chase format, so you want to be in the top 16, then the top 8, and so on and so forth. But there are no drops, and so you miss a race or two, or you have a bad run or two, that can really, really play havoc with you as you get down into time to run for the championship here.
Yeah, that's another thing too that I think a lot of people, like, especially in modern era NASCAR, kind of discredit with how important winning is that you still need to be consistent to make it up there in the points to have a shot at it. Like, every point helps, and especially when you get down to playoff crunch time, it might be 1 or 2 points that keep you from advancing round to round or even making it all the way to the championship round.
Or look at Kyle Larson. I mean, he did the thing and sacrificed running at Charlotte to stay in Indianapolis. I don't think anybody that knows Larson or knows his history would fault him for that. But it essentially cost him the NASCAR champion, the Cup championship last year, because it stripped him of all of his points.
Green.
His accumulated bonus points. We're back to green. We're not going to show the flag stand this time. We want to stay with the leaders. Jacob Cannon is shot out of that cannon at the front. He's got Dulabon behind him. Dunwoody 3rd. Chad Winstead following through on the bottom in 4th. They're going to get around Osterman. That is a really stringy restart there, Jacob.
Yeah, I want to say that Cannon wanted to stack the field up as much as he possibly could to hope that Dulabon would just push him absolutely as hard as he could. It was something that you would see a lot when we were still sprint racing. Is if you didn't go on the start, you were getting pushed all the way to the corner, and if you were getting pushed and didn't realize how much you were being pushed, you were in the fence. So it's just one of those deals that you kind of got to maximize that run, and it looks like the rest of the field's finally going to capitalize on it.
They are. There is such a thing as being too far out in front. Now, Dulabon's going to jump up in front of David Dunwoody, who's got help in the form of teammate Justin Osterman and Kendale Paul, who thought about it and then moved back down to the inside. But you've also got we've got contact.
Caution is out.
Caution is on the speedway. Again, no indication as to what the caution is for.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been... Okay, not Ryan O'Donohue. not Cofield, not Langley. There was a truck that was very slow, that was very, very slow around Ryan O'Donohue there. And I couldn't quite make it out. We're going to try a different angle. It's the 95.
Alvarez?
Yeah, let's...
Looks like Alvarez is in the pit lane now.
That would be Marlon Alvarez. He's heavy damage to the front and the left side of that 95. So let's kind of see. He was very slow, and of course it takes it away. There we go. Okay, so Alvarez was 3 wide with the 09 and the 33. And he's, I believe, about to become the meat in the sandwich, Jacob.
Yep, that quick pinch in the middle is just, it's going to come up at you quick, and there's nowhere you can go.
Hard contact for Marlon Alvarez. So that's the reason for the caution. Also a piece of that, the 33 of Mike George. Marlon Alvarez is going to sit on pit road, and we did hit the over on cautions with that. So whoever set over under on 3 cautions, if you bet the over, please collect your winnings from Jacob Collins, as he is in charge of payouts this evening. We are under caution, 5 laps to go. This is going to be a natural green-white checker, is it not, Jacob?
I would reckon to think so, because we've still got them single file with the lights on the pace truck. We're probably only going to double file next lap, if not the lap after. So it's definitely going to be at least a natural green-white checkered, if not a little more. So we'll just have to see if that ends up panning out, and we can get these guys to the end here.
Now, the other thing was the leaders were 3 wide for that lead when the caution flew. Jacob Cannon had the lead. Dulabon and Dunwoody had put him 3 wide at the moment of caution. iRacing is scoring Chad Dulabon as the leader. David Dunwoody is second. Jacob Cannon third. Justin Osterman fourth. Paul Witt fifth. And Kendall Paul sixth. And I don't know that this could have worked out any better. We're going to double file up now. So we're going to get a green-white checker. The one bonus lap. I don't know that this could have worked out any better, though, for those Dark Horse Performance and Black Magic trucks. Those are 3 teammates all stacked together on the top. So like I said, I don't know that that could have worked out any better for those 3. Not only that, but you've got Gregorio Dorso, who has made his way back to the front. And then immediately behind him, you've got another Black Magic truck. That's Adam O'Brien. So 4 of the top 5 on that top line are all going to be working together here as we come to get the green flag with 3 to go. We are going to stay with it at the front, although we're going to watch it. We're going to watch it from the blimp. The airship has provided some amazing pictures here tonight from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we're going to stick with it as we come back to get the green flag, because it's going to show the runs, it's going to show the pushes, and it's going to show you exactly what's happening all the way around this 1.54 mile speedway. Lights are out on the pace truck. They're pulling around that long pit entry, and we're set to go back to green flag racing. They're going to get it with 3 to go, Jacob.
Green.
And we are back under green. Dulabon out to a big jump on the restart here. Let's see how long that lasts for him. As we kind of saw that last run there, it doesn't take long for the rest of the pack to regain that ground off the restart. It
doesn't, and especially since the guys on that top being team trucks, they're going to get formed up, and they're all pushing hard. Huge shot from Jacob Cannon all the way back. That's going to be Hyatt that gets kicked down onto the apron. Dunwoody gets up to the front line. It's going to be a tandem drag race. You're going to have Dulabon and Cannon on the bottom, and it appears to be Osterman and Dunwoody on the top.
Yeah, the accordion effect from that big push coming through the corner there, or coming down the backstretch there, just kind of shot everybody all over the place once they got to the corner. Because you can't can't keep him quite
Whoa,
as close.
Dunwoody
We almost
around.
got one around.
Dunwoody around. He's going to hit the outside wall. Hard in the wall. Jacob Osterman. Caution is on the speedway one more time. And now we are going to get green-white checker action. And let's see. No one, Andy Dunwoody, he's not going to be very happy. But let's see what we've got going on with the 28 here. There they are in the turn. So that's going to be the 86 of Cannon. He's coming up off the back bumper of the 98. We've seen him do that all night long, and he just gets into the side of David Dunwoody. Around goes Dunwoody in front of the field. Hard hit from multiple angles. Let's go back and get another look at it from the P1 airship. That's going to be an interesting. We are just broadcasters. We'll let the stewards sort that one out. How's that, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, it's one of those deals that you kind of just gotta let race control do race control things.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But let's get back live because we're about ready to have a green-white checkered finish. And don't think for a minute that Dunwoody is out of this by any stretch. He's still on the lead lap. And as long as you have, we saw last night, as long as you have a rolling automobile when you get the white flag, you too can win the race here at Atlanta. The car that won last night, I think, was 7th when the white flag flew. So you don't necessarily have to be at the front of this deal to win this thing, do you?
Oh, certainly not. I think I even learned this week the fuel mileage race and the top split broadcast for the Indy cars at Phoenix this week came down to fuel mileage. I decided I was going to fall way behind the field because I knew that, pushing that hard that early, you're going to run out. And, having that car at the finish with, being rolling at speed at the end of the race is what ultimately locked me into the top 10 come the end of it. So as long as you still got a truck that can move and can, stay pointed the right direction, you might have a shot to win this thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old poker adage, Jacob. As long as you got a chip in a chair, you got a chance. And we're getting ready to come to the first attempt at a green-white checker. The rule used to be 3. Is it still 3 that they do here? Can you confirm that for us, Jacob?
That was my understanding reading the briefing, but it's possible that the rule book gets thrown out the window by somebody at some point, but let's assume that's not the case.
No, it wouldn't be. So we would have 3 green-white checkered, 3 attempts at a green-white checker. Jacob Cannon and Chad Dulaban are going to be the front row here. Paul Witt, Gregorio Dorso, row 2. Kendale Paul and Jeffrey Hyatt are going to have row 3. Adam O'Brien, Chad Winstead are going to be the 4th row. Southern and Sweeting are going to round out your top 10. We're going to come back to the pit road entrance, and it is a long one. And once again, I like that. I think watching it from the blimp is a pretty good perspective here, Jason. Or Jacob, I'm sorry. Why do I keep calling you Jason?
Because I believe there's a Jason Collins that also races Indy cars with us. I've been added in the community Discord at least 2 or 3 times saying great race, and I was never in any of those races.
There you go. It's always just on the tip of my tongue, and I don't know why. But you raise a good point, and of course, Jason Collins, also a highly accomplished open wheel racer in our circles. Base truck is all the way off, and we're going to see if we can't get back to a white flag. If we can get to the white, the next flag will end the race. The green flag is out. Chat Dulaban hits the loud pedal. He's going to have help from Paul Witt on the bottom. Jacob Cannon, rather, is going to be on the top. Gregorio Dorso and Kendall Paul do not rush up to help the car numbered 17. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it looked like everybody was just in a scurry buddle to get to the bottom there, and now it looks like we're going to have a taker to the outside.
Caution is out.
Yellow on the speedway.
We've got yellow on the track. Can't really identify it. it's another one of those where we're not seeing the telltale signs. So everybody at home knows what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a live. There's Justin Osterman. I'm looking at a.
Yeah, I'm thinking Osterman got shoved in the middle of 3 and maybe shoved into the wall, like he just hooked right.
Yeah, and I'm. There was a glitch out right when the accident occurred. There's Osterman around. Let's see if we can't see what we can see. He's 3 wide. He's got the 11 of Milnes under him and O'Donoghue on top. And it just breaks loose with him coming off of 2. No contact. And then he gets into the side of Milner and then blinks out. And so we're not going to be able to bring you the full accident for Jacob Osterman. But be that as it may, we will go ahead and put us back at the front of the field. So there's one attempt. We've got 2 more, right?
Well, they're there for a reason. We got to use them, right?
Hey, right? If you don't lose them, you use them. And speaking of opportunities, would love to take the opportunity to thank everybody who has formed a massive group that is watching this race on the P1 Broadcasting Network. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead, click the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. Both of those things are huge for us as we continue to fight the YouTube algorithm game in our march to 1,000 subscribers. If we can get there, that is a huge event for any broadcasting channel, especially for iRacing. As it really moves you up the pecking order in the algorithm, and so we would love to thank everybody who has done so. And if you haven't, we would thank you if you did. There is a promotion out there where Kyle Clinworth, who is one of Jacob's teammates. Now, Jacob, you run the plain white wrapper, right?
That I do.
Right, so Clindy, he's known to break out the rattle can for time to time, and he is going to put the name of one person out of every 100 on his car. Now, my car has Clindy's name on it, right? It's got it's on the underside of the rear wing. If you ever go to take a look at my car at the actual map of my car, it's not on the top, right? It's on the bottom. So you can't see it unless the car is upside down. But it's there. And so that's kind of a special thing that we're doing for our fans. Clindy, of course, my broadcast partner on Monday nights in the Indy Open broadcast, and a really good time that is. The lights, though, are out on that pace truck, and we're about ready to have yet another good time here at Atlanta. We've got 2 more attempts. We're about ready to burn 1. We'll have 1 more left if we can't make it back to the white. I gotta kind of like Paul Witt here, and not just that, he's got Kendall Paul behind him. Those are 2 veterans. They know each other very well.
And we've still got Gregorio Dorso in this race. It looks like Albert Franklin's worked his way up to just outside the top 10. Like there's trucks that can probably make a move towards the end of this thing.
Yeah, Adam O'Brien and Jeffrey Hyatt, they've been up front all night. You see them, cars 3 and 4 on the bottom line. Chad Winstead's still in this discussion. He's 8th up there. So plenty of good trucks still left. And Andy Dunwoody, he's back in 15th. Don't count him out either.
Green, green, green.
Here we go for the green. We're going to see the 98 of Chad Dulabon. He's going to hit the gas. He's going to surge ahead. He's going to get some help from Jacob Cannon. Kendall Paul is going to jump underneath Paul Witt. He's going to try to move into 3rd. Kendall Paul is going to have help from teammate Adam O'Brien there on the bottom. They've got Hyatt behind them. Witt's going to be the first car. We've got cars around on the back. That's O'Donoghue and Smith. Caution is out. Hard impact for Andy Dunwoody. And if he wasn't finished earlier, I think it's finished now.
Yeah, and I think we had cars wrecking into the entrance of turn 3 as well, so it just kept going and going and going from there.
Yeah, it did. We're coming off a 2, and Dunwoody gets, I don't know if he misjudged that, but he's trying to come up in front of the 14. They collect the 17, and those trucks go hard in the wall. And watch this hit for David Dunwoody. He's going to back up in front of his brother and just get pounded by Jeremy Dunwoody. Caution is on the speedway, and we're going to take our final attempt at a green-white checker here at Atlanta. What was
that's going to be a smack upside the head. Turn around, smack your brother upside the head. If I understood correctly, they have their sim rigs about positioned right next to each other.
They do indeed. And I think that's exactly right. He did get loose on the cutback. But yeah, it really is. It really is. There's another one, Jim, who you'll see sometimes as well. Jeremy isn't quite as active as David or Andy. Given name David, but we all call him Andy. Not quite as active in the sim. He runs this just to kind of hang out with his brother. Those two are going to form a second Black Magic sim team. Kendale Paul, myself, James Hodgins, and Justin Osterman are going to take the Cadillac to Sebring together. Now that'll be interesting.
I believe we're going to do the same. That was my understanding in the last discussion we had at the Rogue Racing headquarters. Is we were gonna get out the big guns, bust out the Cadillac, bring it to Sebring, see what we can do. Hope we don't get wiped out by a typhoon or something.
You just got to watch out for Volkswagens. That's my experience. That's my experience. Is the GT3 cars? If you thought that they were hard, if you thought the speed difference at Daytona was hard to manage, the difference between the GT3s and the prototypes, it is that much harder at Sebring because there's not really a whole lot of room for the prototypes to stretch their legs out. There's still a huge amount faster per lap, but it's a lot tighter. You don't have those long straightaways to just blow past large numbers of cars in one spot. It gets kind of tight. So I'm looking forward to it, but it's a little bit of a different challenge for sure. Speaking of challenges, we're going to challenge these drivers here to get 2 laps in. The lights are out. You've got Dulabon and Cannon still on row 1. Kendale Paul and Paul Witt are on row 2. The third row, Gregorio Dorso and Adam O'Brien, Chad Winstead, Jeffrey Hyatt, Chuck Sweeting, and Landon Stoker make up your top 10. Tyler Smith is 11th, Michael Kirk 12th. Ryan O'Donohue, through all of the trials and tribulations that he's had, he is 13th. Jeffrey Goodpaster, and Goodpaster has been, he's had a day, but he's hung around. He's in 14th. Jason Southern rounds out your top 15. Nolan Milnes, Jacob Smith, Albert Franklin, David Dunwoody, and Justin Osterman are going to round out your top 20. Dunwoody is now 2 laps in arrears. He is still on pit lane, as is Osterman. Albert Franklin is also on pit lane. He is laps down. So we've got 17 cars on the lead lap. Here's we come down for the final restart to decide. The Trak Racer 208 from virtual Atlanta. Dulabon's going to hit the gas. He's going to try to get away one more time. Kendale Paul does not stick tight to him. The bottom line gets kind of strung out. That's going to give a run to Paul Witt. He's going to be the first one to the bumper of Jacob Cannon here. Cannon, though, he's going to drop in line right in front of Gregorio Dorso. And is Dorso going to pull it up to the top, or is he going to be content to follow? Whoa, Cannon sideways. Big wreck on the back.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
And that is going to be that.
Yeah, I think it was just one or 2 trucks getting out of line there, getting antsy, trying to make that move to the high side, and it just stacked everybody up.
It did. We're gonna get the replay, and we're gonna take a look at it with the camera on Jacob Cannon. He is the third car in line there, or the third truck, excuse me. The Mobile One painted number 17. It appears as 86 on your scoring pylon, and he is behind Kendale Paul. Appears as though Dorso might have gone to go high, and they kind of got hooked up there. Around Cannon goes, and he is going to collect everyone in a massive accident. Pretty much every truck that was behind Chad Winstead got collected here, and there were even some trucks that had missed the accident that saw it and couldn't wait to get in it. Hard hit for Paul Witt, and a tough end to his day. He had been on the front line there, not more than 2 restarts ago. That's going to pretty much end it. Chad Dulabon is going to be your winner. We're going to see it there. Kendall Paul is going to come home second, or are we going to get one more?
I'm under the impression we're getting another one.
Well, that's because the first one didn't count as a green-white checker, right?
Potentially, yeah. I think that might be the case.
Yeah, the first one was a natural one, so it didn't count in the threes. So Dulabon still your leader. Kendall Paul is going to be second. Winstead and Sweeting now third and fourth. Tyler Smith fifth. Ryan O'Donohue has moved to sixth. Jeffrey Hyatt, Nolan Milnes, Gregorio Dorso, and Michael Kirk are going to round out your top 10. Landon Stoker, Jeffrey Goodpaster, Jacob Cannon, and Jacob Smith are going to be the remaining cars on the lead lap. Adam O'Brien is under repair. Paul Witt has punched out. Jason Southern also under repair, as is Albert Franklin, David Dunwoody. Ken Holland is circulating, but he is 6 laps down. Now, Franklin punches out. Ken Holland is now circulating, and that can be big for him. He's 20th. He can go around another couple of laps. He's going to pass Dunwoody. He's going to pass Franklin. Southern is on pit lane. He could potentially pass him as well. Don't think he's going to have enough laps to get to Paul Witt. But Ken Holland could pass 4 cars here.
Well, it appears Paul Witt has chimed in and let us know that it is unlimited attempts on the overtimes here.
Oh, boy. So buckle your seatbelts. Unlimited attempts on the overtimes. I had thought there were 3, so Kendall must have changed that rule. He must have changed that rule. But we're working back toward another attempt at a green-white checkered finish. The lights are out. There you see the lineup. 14 trucks on the lead lap to decide it. There are quite a few automobiles on the pit lane under repair. And the longer this goes, Ken Holland, I'm going to be interested to see. Just passed David Dunwoody. Just passed him for position. He'll pass Albert Franklin the next time around. Wouldn't it be something if Ken Holland wound up with a top 15 out of this? And that's possible if we get another green-white checker.
Well, we could be here all night with green-white checkers, Murph.
I don't know that we're going to have enough trucks to have unlimited green-white checkers. It might be a Ricky Bobby type situation where you give the win to the last guy running. Chad Dulabon, he's going to take the start. It's the Chad and Chad show on the bottom. Kendall Paul is going to get a shot from Chuck Sweeting, and away we go in our 4th attempt to decide the Trak Racer 208 here in the American Motorsports Association Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series. The front guy's got a huge break. We've got one in the wall slow on the top. Don't think that's going to affect it. Winstead takes...
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
Looks like Kirk got spun around on the backstretch there.
Yeah. There's Michael Kirk. He's going off the nose of the 16. And let's see. You had the 11 of Nolan Milnes. I think he had severe damage. He was just trying to get out of the way. He does a good job of it. That was the car that I called. That was the car that I called as damaged or moving slowly. And then the 54 just gets loose coming off of turn number 2. You see all the damage on the nose, and I'm sure that's not helping Michael Kirk. And then the 16 just kind of finishes him off there, Jordan Denny.
Yeah, I think I caught the radio from Milnes. He says he's out of gas. So is that going to start becoming a concern the more of these overtime restarts we get? Are more trucks going to have to, come in and do a splash and go at some point here?
That's a great question, and yes, it is. Dulabon, Winstead, and Kendall Paul, they've all been out 60 laps, as is Tyler Smith. 59 laps for Gregorio Dorso, 60 laps for Michael Kirk, although I'm assuming that we're probably going to see Michael Kirk on pit lane. Jeffrey Goodpaster has punched out at the number 3, so he is now out of the race. Ken Holland, by the way, has moved into 17th place, and he will pass Paul Witt under this caution, and also Adam O'Brien. So Ken Holland is going to get a top 15 out of this just from circulating slowly with all the green-white checkers. It is. The most we saw guys go last night was 62 in the Grand National cars. Those cars do get better mileage. They're far more aerodynamic. And we have had a ton of caution, but those guys that have been out for 61 laps, they're working on the ends of their tanks. Ryan O'Donohue, Chuck Sweeting, and you've got Landon Stoker. He came in. Jacob Cannon was under lengthy repair, but he's stopped in his box. So I'm assuming that Jacob Cannon has filled the tank. Dorso is in. Kirk is in. Milnes and Jacob Smith also coming in. And again, Jeffrey Goodpaster has punched out of the number 3. So could be double interesting here.
Yeah, and you got to wonder how many of these guys up at the front here are going to try to push it as long as they possibly can in the hopes that the race ends and they still have enough gas left into the tank to make it.
Well, I mean, who would have predicted, 5 green-white checkers? I mean, I think the most I've ever seen in the series is a couple, and I've raced it for 2 years. So this is uncharted territory. But there's, if you're Dulabon, Winstead, and Kendall Paul, you've kind of made your bed here, I would think.
I'm trying to recall how many they had in the Cup race at Nashville Super Speedway last season. That's what I'm hearkening back to, because I want to say they had 6, maybe 10 overtime restarts.
Yeah,
before they finally decided that one.
It was a bunch. I think I finally went to bed. But you're looking at we've still got, I don't know. You've really only got 12 lead lap trucks out there. Well, 11 lead lap trucks out there circulating. You've got more guys on pit road under repair than you do on the racetrack. I'm thinking just by process of elimination here, we're gonna see a finish sometime soon. We're not gonna have enough trucks to wreck if we keep going at this pace, Jacob.
No, and that's always the concern. You got to have a truck to finish with at the end of the day.
You most certainly do. It's like, who's got a truck to finish with? That's Chad Dulabon. It's still the Chad and Chad show. They're 1 and 2 as we come back to this restart. Paul and Sweeting, they're on row 2. The green flag is out. Racing will resume. We'll go back to the blimp just to make sure we don't miss anything. Now the Chad's got a break here at the front. That is Nolan Milnes coming off of pit road. He is well to the inside on the apron. Shouldn't affect anything. Going down the back here. Winstead going to pull it to the outside of Dulabon. He's got help from Kendall Paul. Chuck Sweeting is going to file in behind Chad Winstead. We've got a car spinning, sliding. That's Hyatt on the apron. He saves it. We're going to stay green. There's the white flag. So the race is official. Next flag will end the race. Chad Dulabon on the bottom. Chad Winstead is on the top.
Hyatt reminded me of that Kyle Busch trash at Daytona where he about saved it 3 times. I think that was the Sprint Unlimited was called back in the day. But we still got ourselves a race to the finish here.
That would be the Busch Clash, I believe. At any rate, they're going to come off at turn 4. Chad Dulabon on the bottom. He's got help from Sweeting. They're 3 wide for 4th behind him, and they make it this time.
We're back in after the checkered.
Hey, we got the checkered. Your winner, Chad Dulabon. He's going to take home the trophy. Chuck Sweeting, 2nd, and Chad Winstead. He wrote the car off Davey Allison style, but he's going to come home 3rd. So, For the Trak Racer 208 here at Virtual Atlanta in the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series, Chad Doodlebon, your winner. Chuck Sweeting is going to come home second. Chad Winstead, he's going to round out the podium in third. Ryan O'Donohue fourth. Landon Stoker is going to be fifth. Kendale Paul will come home sixth. Jacob Cannon is seventh. Tyler Smith eighth. Gregorio Dorso ninth. And Jeffrey Hyatt is going to round out your top 10. In 11th, Michael Kirk. Jacob Smith 12th. Nolan Milnes 13th. Ken Allen made it all the way up to 14th. And Jeffrey Goodpaster is going to be credited with 15th on the day. Pat O'Brien 16th, Adam O'Brien 17th, Paul Witt, Justin Osterman, and Jason Southard, they're going to round out your top 20. From 21st to 30th, Keith Graham, Albert Franklin, David Dunwoody, Ted Craven, Braden Langley, Brian Sharp, Jordan Denny, Jeremy Dunwoody, Mark Cofield, and Dustin Ramsey. Finishing 31st, Marlon Alvarez. Liam Anderson is going to be credited with 32nd after a fine run at the front for most of the evening. Mike George, 33rd. James Hodgson, 44th. And Sean Mott is going to be 35th. Alan Bergen, 36th. John Guerrero, 37th. And Donald Green was your final starter. He comes home 38th. Michael Wingo, Christopher Thaxton, Darius Timms, John Hutchins, Joseph Klein, Marshall Harris, and Jalen Story did not qualify tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And let's see if we can't get some drivers in here, kind of replay and relive this one.
Rewind and rebuild.
A lot of work might go on in some virtual shops after this one. What do you think?
I think they're going to have to bust out the sheet metal from 3 or 4 years ago to piece the cars back together at this point.
There we go. There's Chad Winstead, the PJI car. We'll get the Muzak out of here and see who we got. There's Chad Winstead. Chad, you've got Mark Murphy and Jacob Collins in the P1 Broadcasting booth. We talked to you earlier. You said your goal was to keep the truck clean, get it to the end, keep it up front. You accomplished all three of those. I think you've got one of the only hot rods out there that's not bent.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's bent, but it said I had about 3.5 minutes of damage. But yeah, I don't know if that was affecting the handling, but it was a little out of whack when I would get out in front. So just happy to bring home a podium, honestly.
Well, you did bring home the podium, and because you brought home a podium, you get to face the plain white rapper, Jacob Collins. What do you have for Chad Winstead this evening?
You know what do you feel like you needed right at the end there, holding the outside? Was it just not enough push from behind, or did you need some more help?
Yeah, I think a little bit more help. Kendall was doing a great job as we were coming to the white there, and was pushing me out front. And then I think somebody got to his inside there and made it 3 wide. So I didn't have the truck on me that I needed when I had I had 3 wide behind me. So just not quite enough push coming off of 4. But I want to applaud Kendall for pushing me there at the white. He did all he could. So obviously being that close to the win stings a little bit, but overall, like I said, I got to be happy with a podium at a place like this. So
yeah, no reason not to be happy with a podium at a what amounts to a restrictor plate race. You led a couple of laps, you charged through the field a couple of times, and because of that, and because you're in the interview room, you have the floor. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out to, Chad, the floor is yours.
Hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll give a shout out to my wife that's watching, my Pilot John crew. Yep. We have some of the Pilot John crew watching tonight, as you saw on my truck there. So shout out to the marketing team, and yeah, any other friends and family that was out there watching. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking with us. I know it was a long process there to finish that race, but hopefully it was entertaining there at the end.
Highly entertaining, Chad, and we thank you for stopping by. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy. And we will see you in, 3 weeks, right? We got a couple off. So we'll see you at the next one.
Yep, we'll see you there. looking forward to it.
100%. So that's Chad Winstead. He's going to come home third on the evening, and we'll go ahead and get Chuck Sweeting up in the broadcast booth as soon as I can arrange my my technology here. It's always fun trying to do this. Chuck Sweeting, Mark Murphy, Kent, Jacob Collins in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
You know, it's going pretty good. I'm kind of glad I wasn't involved in the pressure cooker as my broadcast partner put it. But tell us what you saw out there. How was the racing? And you had an eventful day going from the back to the front. You've got a very easily findable truck on the racetrack, that's for sure. But you brought it home second. Tell us how you did it.
Yeah, just patient and avoided the chaos. Tried to keep an eye way ahead of the guy that's in front of me, and yeah, just kept it clean. I don't even think I had an incident the whole race, so worked out really well.
Yeah, I don't see any marks on that beautiful purple chrome machine other than just rubber. So, excuse me, great job keeping it clean, Jacob. What do you have for our second place finisher today?
Did you just run out of time to try to make a move at the end there, or was there just not a hole that you felt like you could squeeze your truck through?
There was no room. Chad was covering the bottom, and if I'd have gone to the top, I think I'd have just fell back. So I just stuck with him to the end, and second's not bad. When you survive at one of these tracks, it's a pretty good night anyway. So just had to be satisfied with second.
Well, and I would be satisfied with second. These things are always kind of a lottery, and so it can sometimes be difficult just to get to the end. A lot of trouble befell a lot of your competitors, but you managed to avoid it all. You're bringing home the middle step of the podium, and because of that, as is tradition here on the P1 Broadcasting Network, you get an interview, you get the floor. Friends, family, sponsors, anybody you'd like to shout out to, sir, you got it.
Yeah, appreciate it. Just want to say thanks to Archway Industrial for supporting the league. Thanks to the admins for all the work they do. They had to earn their share tonight, so I appreciate the fans tuning in too. So we'll hopefully have a little bit cleaner finish at the next one, and hope everybody tunes in for it.
Yeah, I certainly do hope so too. Huge viewership out there for these races, and we certainly do appreciate it. But Chuck, we appreciate you too. Keep going fast, having fun, and we'll see you at the next one, my man.
All right, y'all have a great night.
You know, we're going to do it. And that's going to bring us to tonight's winner. That's Chad Dulabon. Give me a second to get him queued up. We'll get him in here. We'll talk to him after a long night at Atlanta. There's Chad. There's his truck at least. And there's Chad in the voice. Chad Dulabon, Mark, and Jacob Collins in the P1 Broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what, we talked earlier. You kept it up front. You kept it clean. You were never lower than ninth in this one. And you brought home the flag. Kind of talk to us about the tests that you had to undergo to get there, especially those last 3 or 4 restarts.
Yeah, the whole race was pretty good, except the inside line kept kind of prevailing there at the end of the race. Yeah, the last few cautions were a little tough. I thought I won it after the third, and then I just kept on trying, but I only had enough fuel for one more restart.
Yeah, I was going to say that was Jacob's concern, was that guys were going to be running out of gas. We had Nolan Milnes say that he ran out, so we were keeping an eye on that. And speaking of Jacob Collins, Jacob, do you have any questions for tonight's winner, Chad Dulabon? I hope I'm saying that right, by the way.
Yeah, Dulabon, that's correct.
Hey, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So I finally said somebody's name right. I'm going to give myself the pat on the back. Jacob, go ahead.
So a lot of these restarts coming to the end here are, probably pretty tedious. How do you focus on keeping a cool head, especially trying to get the launch, navigate the lanes, coming to the end every couple laps, having to restart the race?
Yeah, I kind of kept going early in my box, and I had to change it up once or twice. I was honestly scared I was getting too big of a jump, and nobody really got to my outside to where I had to fight it off. But I was kind of concerned really about jumping out too far ahead of everybody. But then a couple of them guys got in a wreck, and kind of had some newcomers up front. So it was just trying to hold the bottom really.
Well, you held the bottom, and now you're holding the trophy, the flag, and the money. And because you are doing those things, as is the tradition here on the P1 Broadcasting Network, you get the floor. Friends, family, sponsors, shout-outs, anybody you'd like to say hello to, talk as long as you would like.
Oh, just my family. I think they're watching y'all's broadcast. They say y'all put on a good show, and they enjoy watching y'all. So I appreciate y'all putting that on.
Hey, we appreciate you too. We appreciate you stopping by the booth. Chad, you keep going fast, having fun, my friend, and we will see you at the next one.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
100%. That's Chad Dulabon. He is the winner this evening, and we had a race that had more or less everything. At the end of the day, it did not disappoint in terms of excitement. Jacob, thank you so much for stopping by. What are kind of your final thoughts on the evening's proceedings?
Boy, howdy, just about everybody had a shot at winning this thing, and likely could have had it ended on like any other lap of the race, to be honest. So it's just incredible watching these guys, risk it lap after lap, trying to make every move they possibly can, watch the air, move around, try to figure out just how they can get that inch right at the end. It's like the classic finishes of the early 2000s in the IRL, where you're just inching every lap trying to make your lane work and navigate it around.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I get out of this. I mean, these races, there is a lot of skill involved. There is a lot of luck involved. And at the end of the day, you've got to hope that your roll of the dice doesn't come back snake eyes. Speaking of snake eyes, the next race in this series is 3 weeks' time. They're going to take a couple of weeks off. And so the next race here in the Archway Industrial Coatings Truck Series is going to be March the 14th, and it's going to be in Las Vegas. And so we're going to see who bets the correct red or black, who doubles down on hard 12, and who doesn't roll the snake eyes at the craps table. That'll be a fun one. We'll be right here 8:30 p.m. on the P1 Broadcasting Network. And speaking of the P1 Broadcasting Network, boy, do we have a full lineup for you coming up for the next week. Tomorrow, the P1 crew will be over on the Velocity Online Racing channel. That'll be 3 p.m. for the VOR IndyCar Series race from Road America. Sunday night, you're going to have the Votive IndyCar Series. They're going to be on at 8 o'clock from the new configuration of Phoenix on Monday. Clindy and I are going to be in the booth. We're going to call the IndyCar Open Series top split race from Sebring at 7. And then later on that evening, Gary and LGN will have the ISRA Open Wheel Series from Iowa. That'll be at 9:30. Tuesday, the flagship broadcast, the IndyCar Oval Series top split. That'll be from Homestead at 7:15. You can catch Jacob Collins in the plain white wrapper in that one. The Horizon IndyCar Series, myself, Ryan Eric King, 8 o'clock on Wednesday. They'll be at Pocono. And adjacent to that, we'll have dueling streams because Gary is going to be with Stephen Larkamp. They'll have the Formula Indy Series and their only oval race of the season. That'll be at Milwaukee. And then Saturday, we'll have the Thursday we'll have the Black Magic Studios AMA Grand National Series. They're going to be racing at COTA, and won't that be fun? Sam Crow will be back in the booth for that one. This series is off next week, and then beginning on March the 1st, the big one starts. That's the iRacing IndyCar Series presented by 4D Raceware, 1 o'clock, Saturday, March the 1st, 1 in the afternoon for that one. For Jacob Collins, Gary Godso, and everybody else at the P1 Broadcasting Network, we would like to thank all of our first responders, the police, fire, military, the EMTs, all of those people that do the hard work at night so that we can sleep soundly in our beds. We thank you. Signing off from virtual Atlanta, and Mark Murphy, and we will see you next week. Keep going fast and having fun, my friends.